Okay, 6:36, I'm calling this meeting to order. Alfredo, actually, would you like to take roll?
I'm here.
Take roll,
Oh,
Mr. Secretary, thank you.
okay. I can do that, I think. Give me a second. I think I might be able to do that.
I know,
you
I'm
asked
sorry,
me.
I'm sorry, you're used to me doing it, huh? I can do it.
You do such a great job that, So, okay, taking a roll call here. If you are here, say present, because I can't see everyone. But I'm going to say, Alvin Waters.
Here.
All right. Brian.
Here.
Chris Coyle.
He's no longer on the board.
No longer.
NLA. Since when?
Couple months
Couple
ago,
months.
he resigned.
Damn.
Job
Denisa
change.
Pantoja.
She's
Denisa
running
here?
late. No, she's running late.
She's running late. Okay. All right. So we got Alvin and Brian only. Okay. Graham Zach.
Here.
All right. And Jason.
Right here.
Lester. Karen Waters.
Here.
Nathan Lee.
Here.
Mr. Oscar Jimenez. Obviously you're here.
Present.
Raheem Kazi.
Present.
All right. Ralph Croy. Ralph Croy going once, twice, sold. Robert Moore.
Present.
Sidney Gold. Sid Gold. All right. And Thomas Hartsfield. All right. So we got a couple of absents here. All right. Is Sid running late?
No idea.
Okay. All right.
Only one that informed us was Denitza.
Danita told you she was running late. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. So I should remove, did Chris resign? Is that what happened?
Yes.
Yeah, we told
Okay,
you.
I'll remove him
Yeah.
off the list.
Okay, we now have 11.
We now
just-
have 11.
Who
But
just
you have
joined
to move
us?
Sid. You have to move Sid.
Oh, is Sid in appointees?
attendees.
And
got
attendees?
one?
Okay.
Sweet.
All right. So see it said note 638. Let me move him over. Thank you, Brian.
You know, did I say Nathan Lee? Did I call Nathan Lee?
You sure did.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I see
Yeah,
him
you
there,
did.
but
Yeah, you did call me.
Okay.
Thanks,
good,
Alfredo.
good. Okay.
Okay. So
So we have enough.
we have quorum. All right. Thank you.
We have
See,
enough clowns to open the circus. All right.
You
see,
should
Alfredo,
note,
you're much more animated than me. See, God love it.
you should note, Oscar, that it looks like Senator Hertzberg is online.
All right.
Yes.
Yep. Noted. Okay. So let's do. Let's start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Would Senator Hertzberg like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Let me. Thank you. It's moving forward to panelist.
There we go. There we go. There I am.
There you go, sir. Oh, good to see you. All right.
Bob.
Everybody,
Panelists, see this?
I pledge allegiance
To the
To the
flag
flag
Bye.
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Do it.
Thank you. Thank you, and welcome. So let's see, the next item. We added something before we started our meeting, and that is item B on the agenda. You guys have it in front of you, and that is, we would like any participants in this meeting consider lobbyists. If so, please identify yourself. And if you
You have a hand up in attendees.
Mr. Gertler, you please unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Josh Gertler from Consensus. I am a registered lobbyist with the City of Los Angeles, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Confluent Morningstar as a follow-up to our meeting last week.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Are there any others? If so, again, please identify yourself. Okay, I don't see any.
I think we're good to go.
With that, I'm going to move item C below, and I'm going to move to item D just so we can have Mr. Hertzberg, Senator Hertzberg, speak. He's joined our meeting. So Senator Hertzberg, you have the floor.
Oscar, thank you very much. Thanks for including me. How long do you want me to speak for?
What's that?
How much time do I have?
Well, let's go with start with 5 minutes and see is that would
That's
that be
plenty.
plenty?
That's plenty.
Would that
Yeah.
be plenty?
Yeah, be plenty. Listen, it's so good to see a few people. I saw Sid, I saw Karen here, and a few others that I know over the years. I have made a commitment when I started in government, even though I represent 1 million people and 27 neighborhood councils, that I would show up and participate when most folks at the state don't do so. And I do that. Unfortunately, the pandemic has hurt that track record, but I pledged that on my last day of office, I would, which is November 30th, and my last day of my term, I will work for 24 hours a day around the clock. So if anybody has any suggestions of what I can do at 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning in Granada Hills and where I can go, that let me know, please. I'd appreciate it. But I want to just say, I'd appreciate if you get some ideas. Edwin's on the call. He can follow up with folks. But this is what I want to tell you. Just a big picture thing is from a state perspective. You know, there's some good news and some not so good news of what's happening as it affects the city of Los Angeles. You know, the pandemic has just been unbelievably extraordinary impact on all of us. We at the state have tried to do things for businesses by giving them $50,000 in sales tax, PPP money, in addition to the feds. And also we're paying a significant amount of people's unemployment insurance premiums that they would have to pay normally, because we know what a burden that's created during the pandemic. The state, one of the things that I did when I was in government was to work hard to create rainy day funds. Under the law, under the state, we used to just have 1%. So if the state budget was $200 billion, we only had $2 billion in a reserve. We have now created 4 reserve accounts in the state to avoid some of the impacts of the volatility. We have the main rainy day fund. We have one for social services, one for education, and then the constitutional reserve. We have near $35 billion in cash sitting in the reserve fund. That's good and that's bad. It's good in the sense that we anticipate over these last couple of years, we've had these huge increases in capital gains tax because so many of these companies have gone IPO, and we anticipate that those capital gains will go away in the next couple of years. So we're going to have significant downturns. We already predict a $20 billion downturn next year. That's the bad news. The good news is that we have a rainy day fund, which in my judgment helps the consequences, but it doesn't really get to the essence of solving the problem of the volatility of how this tax structure works in California. But it does affect how much money we support cities and all the programs that we do. Second, that I think is important for me to share, that I have as a perspective as a former speaker and as majority leader of the Senate and understanding what's going on in the state, is that on the homeless issue, one of the big challenges that we face is that we don't have enough police, and the police are spending a lot of time dealing with challenges with homeless. And we need people on the street who are educated and trained professionals in mental health to deal. So number one, the federal government has come up with this 988 program, which just started in July, and Congressman Tony Cardenas from the San Fernando Valley was involved in that. Very helpful. There's some federal money. We added more state money for it. But the bigger issue is we don't have enough people on the street. I talked to Michael Moore, who's a police chief, and he tells me he's got like 2 teams that work from like 6 in the morning till 3. They don't work weekends and they don't work holidays. Well, how the heck do you have, if homeless people are having a mental health episode, it's really problematic. So we just put $1 billion in the budget to help fund training at community colleges for mental health professionals so we can get more people on the street. Number 2 is the county, which provides the services. It has $1 billion. It's about to have $2 billion of cash in the bank to be able to pay salaries for these folks so that they can work hand in hand with the police to make sure folks get off the street. I personally am supporting the city council's effort to have a setback for encampments at schools of 500 feet. I don't think that's an unreasonable encroachment. I think kids going to school with people defecating on the sidewalks and all the other horrible stories that I hear is a reasonable effort in that regard, an effort to try and deal with homelessness. The third thing I want to share with you that most people don't know that you learned from the state, I'll just make a couple points and answer questions, is finally we have broken a gridlock on building housing. One of the big issues is we had so many problems in the state to be able to get money and processes to be able to build affordable housing. And now we've passed a series of measures, both that allow us to use old office buildings, to use old shopping centers, and to be able to build in a streamlined fashion past the California Environmental Quality Act and a lot of the local regulations to build more affordable housing. That's going to have a significant impact because one of the issues that we face is we just don't have enough supply and not building enough. So I think you're going to see those are pretty significant moves. And the other thing we've done in homeless that I think is very, very important is once you've got somebody on the street with an episode, they're there they're in Roscoe and got an issue, how do you deal with them? We just created this issue called the care court. And the care court is something where you can take these people and they can actually hold them because what's happening was there was no place to hold them. They'd just be back out in the street. And so we can create a hold that works in a civil context to help. And we're going to train up more judges and the money that we're going to have for mental health professionals to get folks off the streets. So I think that although there's been so much money been spent locally on homelessness, we've really made a major step forward on both more affordable housing and homelessness that I think is important. There's a lot of other issues that are important to the community that I know, whether it's the BRT that we worked on that I helped get the $180 million for, or other things. And the last thing is I just want to share with you that I have worked very hard. One of the things I pride myself on as a former speaker and majority leader to know the system is to bring money home. So I brought $5.7 million to build a homeless facility for the Jewish Jewish Family Services. I just got, I don't know if you guys know, Hope of the Valley got them $1 million for building a kitchen for homelessness to provide food for these folks, and a number of other services that I've been able to bring tens of millions of dollars to the Valley to help folks on so many of the social services stuff that we need to do that are important. My job is to bring money to the Valley. And since I started serving in government, I brought more than $1 billion to the San Fernando Valley, whether it was the $50 million for the Performing Arts Center, the sound walls on the 405, the Orange Line, and all the various things. I just think that's one of the very important elements, in addition to passing laws and making sure I provide services for folks, but to make sure that the Valley gets its fair share. So there's a number of other things I could talk about, but I want to turn it over to you. I want to take notes if there's things that you want me to focus on. And if there's places you want me to go on my last day, I just want to make the rounds to all the neighborhood councils and fulfill my promise of showing up. And thank you all so much for your service. I know the $180,000 salary that we give you is not enough, but at least it's something.
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I agree.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
There's
Any
also a
questions or
comedian.
comments?
So I'm
Oscar,
gonna
thank you.
I'm going to open it up, but before I did have a question for you, Senator Hertzberg, and this is something that I kind of brought up in the last few meetings with several representatives. The question for you I have is based on the latest position for gas. One of the questions I had is, would there be a gas moratorium on gas taxes, or is there going to be a rebate? My question for you is, what position did you take? Did you go with a rebate, or did you go for a gas tax moratorium?
I didn't know that was a question, but the moratorium, we're not going to raise gas price taxes. That's crazy. We're not going to do that. The rebate, to me, I didn't support that because it doesn't make a lot of sense. When you look at how much money we charge on gas to be able to have the impact, that money, when I was speaker, we created what was called Proposition 45. We dedicated every nickel of that money. We can't touch a dime of it under the Constitution. It has to go into transportation and to repair roads and potholes. 25% of money goes back to the city. So when you have a repaving, that's where that money comes from. So to the extent that we might be able to reduce this 5 or 10 or 15 cents compared to the benefits to the communities, I did not think that that was going to result in a very significant impact. And quite frankly, it would be very difficult to do because we had the sales tax and all this gas tax, but it's all 100% under the law, under the Constitution. You voted for it in a wide margin when I was speaker to keep it for road construction and road improvements and things like that. Not mass transit, but stuff in the community. So no, and the rollback to me was such a small number, it wouldn't have really affected prices, and it would have hurt our ability to serve the communities in fixing the roads.
So just to understand, so you were in support of moratorium on the gas tax, or?
Yeah, of course.
rebates.
I never knew that. I didn't. No one ever raised that to me in that context, to be very frank. But no, I would never raise the gas tax. It's nuts.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to give the floor to Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Hello, how are you? And hello to Edwin as well. My questions for you, Senator. The $35 billion that you mentioned, is that a part of the $96 billion surplus or in addition to the $96 billion surplus? That's my first question.
Okay, the way the state money works, it's a funny thing, but here's how it works. So call it $100 billion we had a surplus because we got more money in taxes. Of that $100 billion, that's not a surplus. There's two places the money has to go before it's constituted a surplus. 40% of that money, or $40 billion under Prop 98, under the Constitution, has to go to schools. Then a certain other proportion constitutionally has to go to the rainy day fund. So of the 100 billion, there's really about $50 billion that's real money that can go for other things other than education. So the money for the surplus that I talk about is constitutionally required in the surplus. So it's not really 100, it's really closer to 50, actually in the high 40s of how much money is available. That's how it works.
Okay, and so the second half of that question is, so out of that 50 billion, given the crisis that we have, I mean, predominantly here in Southern California, is how much of that is earmarked for for dealing with the homelessness crisis?
I think it's about 18 billion in various forms. It is this most significant number of we have. It's by orders of magnitude a gigantic number. It's for the home key, it's for the room key system to be able to get hotels and motels, it's for a cleanup, it's for local training, it goes directly to cities and counties. I believe it's about $18 billion goes to homeless, which is more than all the other cities and counties in the state of California put in. We've made it a top priority.
Okay, and then my final question is regarding the street vendor, because the state approved street vendors, and understanding the idea of a street vendor was really someone with a cart, like we commonly see them most often outside of stadiums and arenas and things like that. Now we have almost sometimes a whole city block taken up with tables and chairs and tents and open flames and open meat and so forth. So what can the state do about that because we have an item on our agenda, as I'm sure you'll see later on, for our community dealing with it, because it's hurting. Our community businesses are suffering because they are posted right outside of these brick and mortar businesses who are paying. So
paying property taxes, joining the chamber, paying payroll taxes, paying workers' comp, paying all that stuff. Now, I know it's a significant challenge. The law that we passed this year, I don't have a specific detail on it, but my memory of it is the following, because I was involved in Santa Monica trying to push back. Some of these things were really hazardous standards and stuff, but to basically set up a licensing procedure, because a lot of these folks aren't licensed, and the procedures that they have in the giving discretion to local governments on the one hand, but two, to set up a licensing process that made sure we actually regulated them and that we only had licensed folks that had certain obligations to make it happen. But it's a significant issue, and we have to watch it very, very closely. There's no question. I don't have the answer to your issue. I certainly have a sensitivity as someone who's owned businesses and restaurants before, where you've got somebody outside selling something cheaper than you can, and you don't have to pay all the bills. But I'll take Edwin. Remind me. I'll circle back with Karen on this to find out what we do with respect to there's certainly a law. They've got to be. We now put a law that says they've got to be licensed. Then the next question is there a limitation on how many can be in a certain block or whatever the case may be? And that's a fair question. I'll circle back with you, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Write that down.
Before I get to the next speaker or the next person who has their hand up with a question, Alfredo, can you make note that Denita Pantoja and Ralph Croy join the meeting,
join.
please?
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Brian, you have the floor.
Thank you. It's nice to see you, Mr. Hertzberg. We have not talked in quite a while. My only question to you is this. I know you're well aware of the issues of Aliso Canyon, the gas field, and I just have one quick question, and it can be a yes or a no. I would like to know if we could set up a meeting to meet with you. And when I say we, I'm speaking of a nonprofit that is trying to work with the health issues in the valley due to Aliso. It's a organization called EHR.
What's AHR stand for?
It's Environmental Health Research.
Okay, sure.
And
The answer is yes.
okay, so expect a call from us. We will get a hold of you or Edwin and set up a meeting.
You'll be happy to do so.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and just so you know, can I just tell you one thing, Brian, that's important to know? You know, as majority leader, my job is to respect and support the other members. You know, Aliso affects the communities I represent, but it's in Henry's district and it was in Fran's district. So I didn't want to be a pig about it. And especially as a leader, I help other members. I help them get support. So when Henry first came in office, I was a joint author and got the votes for his first bill. The last bill that got amended, it wasn't going to be heard. I was co-author and it wasn't going to be heard in committee. And I went to the chair as majority leader and got it heard and made the motion and got it out. You know, I was gone during the week we had COVID that the thing got screwed up on the floor, but I don't get out there and try to stick my foot into somebody else's community because I don't think that's the right thing to do. And people got frustrated because I go, where Hertzberg, how come not standing up on this? It's old school respect. And as a leader, you can't step on the toes of your member, but I was behind the scenes making stuff happen all the time. Ask anybody in the system and they'll tell you what I did.
I appreciate that very much. I obviously cannot get into any discussion on it here in this board because I am a principal in EHR, but I just wanted to make sure that we could have a conversation.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. Happy to do.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Brian. Alvin, you've got the floor. And then Mr. Is it Maria or Richard? I'll come to you.
Hey, Alvin.
Hi, Senator Hertzberg. Nice to see you again. I'm pretty sure that this question is gonna, or this conversation is gonna come up on, you know, the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance I serve on. And that's, you know, with everything all over the news about the recent heat wave and the strain on our power grid, I find it kind of interesting how our governor has this big push for us to move towards electric cars, but yet we're not solving the issue of, you know, of our grid not being sustainable enough for it. And as you already know, during this heat wave, I mean, there's many electric car owners being told to not charge our cars. So I guess I just want to know your thoughts on that, because to be quite honest, I mean, one seems contradicting the other.
Yeah, no, it is challenging. There's no question about it. The answer to the question is, and I just was on the phone with the head of the Department of Water and Power's General Manager, Marty Adams, the other night on this Sunday night, I think I talked to him. Look, what we need to do is, if we're going to convert, whether it's electric cars, whether it's converting away from fossil fuel, whether it's converting away from natural gas, build the infrastructure. I apologize for this long answer, but this is an area of policy that I've been involved in most of my life. In a nutshell, that transfer is really hard. So what I've been talking to him about was to create a local consortium that actually builds the 20,000 watt transformers that go up on your poles that you need instead of 4,000, builds the underground of the wires that you need to do because of the worry about risk of liability from the investor-owned utilities, to build all that infrastructure to create local jobs and maybe pass a bond issue or do a renewal, a revenue bond or something like that to offer incentives to business to make it happen. You're right. This transition is very difficult. The extreme heat situation is killing us. We've put in a ton of money, on stuff to try to help on extreme heat. I'm about to go to a thing. We put a couple $100 million in for schools to green them up and stuff. It is a conundrum. There's no question about it. And we had a big issue in Sacramento because we want to keep the Diablo open, and the environmental community didn't want to do that because they're worried about nuclear, but we have to keep the lights on. We have to keep some of these other peaker plants on to keep the lights on. So he's trying to balance it. But you are not wrong that this is a gigantic challenge. My theory on this is I want to move like a son of a gun to be able to build the necessary infrastructure to be able to make that transfer. It'll give people a lot of jobs, and it will actually make sure that we get stuff done. If you don't know my background, after I left the speakership, I was speaker during the energy crisis. I have energy crisis PTSD. I opened my first solar factory in South LA in Martin Luther King Boulevard. I went to Europe. I worked all around the planet for 12 years before I came back. And one of the reasons I came back is because I saw there was a lot of BS about energy and no one understood the details of how to get to goal. I got a governor just signed a bill today for me on transmission, to expedite transmission lines. I worked on other bills on resource adequacy and providers of last resort, none of which ever makes the front page of the paper, but all of it, Alvin, goes directly to your point of how we make that transition. And so I came back to work on the unexciting stuff, and I've done maybe 25 laws on this and worked with these agencies to figure out how to make this transition as quickly and as fast as we can, that don't throw people out of work. But it is, you are on the money. It is really, really hard.
Thank you, Mr. Hertzberg.
Ralph wants to ask the question, looks like.
Yes, so we've talked in the past. We met a long time ago at the Valley Vote meeting.
Oh, wow.
Pardon? Quite a while.
That's a long time ago, yeah.
I call it yesteryear, as my son would say, but how are we doing on getting manual arts programs in high schools? Because it's dropped out of it.
Which kind of programs, I'm sorry?
Manual arts programs.
Oh, manual. Yeah, we talked about this a number of times. We have put a lot more money. I've talked to you about this 3 or 4 times, not just one time in Valley Boat. I've talked to you a number of other times about this. Yeah, I know. But there is about, I don't know how many billions of dollars, but there's a real effort afoot. And I agree with you 100% because I went through all those programs in a significant way, then they've all been dropped out. But what's happened since as I expressed to Karen, that top 40% goes to education. When I started back in the Senate, it was about $9,000 per student. Now it's $22,000 per student based upon that set aside for money. A lot of that money is starting to go into manual arts. And then also there's a ballot measure that goes into arts program that's going to be on the ballot right now, and it's going to pass, that the former superintendent of public instruction put on the ballot for an additional tax to be able to pay for arts and in the schools. And I believe that also includes manual arts. I could be wrong. Edwin, you're going to write that down and I'll double check it. We'll get back to you. But I think that's true. Yeah, it's a big deal. And you're right about it. I took all those classes. They were fantastic for me when I was a kid. And it's a big mistake that we don't have them now.
Well, I went through manual arts. I was a member of a Henry Ford Trade School, and so was my brother. He went to MIT and I went to Michigan. I mean, just because you go to manual arts doesn't mean you're a nobody. I mean, it's a good background.
Is that MIT? Is that Montana Institute of Technology? Where was that?
Massachusetts Institute.
I'm joking with you.
Oh, okay. And eventually got a doctorate degree from UCLA.
Wow.
I mean, just because you went to manual arts doesn't handicap you. Actually gives you a better.
I agree. I learned all the various skills. It was great. It was great.
Thank you, Ralph. We have someone on the attendee, and again, I'm going to allow these last 2, and then we're going to move on, please.
Thanks for taking the time.
Richard, or is it Maria? You've got the floor. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Senator Hertzberg, when you become supervisor in a couple of months, there is a little problem I think I read. I don't know if everybody heard about it, But with respect to people languishing in jail, not getting to the courthouse, did you know that 50% of the bus fleet of the sheriff's department is down? And that was, and 50% of the people don't even make it to their hearings, court appearances. It's amazing.
Richard, where did you hear that?
It was a story, I think it was in the Times.
Can you send that to me? That's really, I did not know that.
I didn't know it either. I was
Yeah.
surprised. I think it was in the Times, but I'll look it up again.
Oh my God, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, no more.
You did a good job at asking us hard questions. I appreciate that.
Yeah, they picked on how you were older.
Yeah, I'll take it. It's age discrimination. Thank you very much.
And I was surprised when I read the story myself, but your opponent says we don't need somebody that can get things done.
Right, exactly.
Oh, boy. Thank you, Senator.
Okay, two more. Thank you for your time, Senator Hertzberg. Much appreciated. Brian, and
Yeah.
then
I'm sorry to come back in, but Senator, there was at one point a statement made by I don't know if it was the state or the city, that they were going to put a proximity charging lines down the 710 freeway. And
What
as
does that mean? I don't understand the proximity.
to charge electric vehicles while they drive.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right, now that hasn't happened. Haven't seen anything happen. This goes to your statement of infrastructure. But
Right.
but in order to accomplish that, if the state really is serious about getting to all electric cars, and personally, I don't think it's possible in the time frame. But if they are serious about it, there should be somebody that is communicating with and negotiating with the automobile companies to establish the ability to do proximity charging while the car is driving. And if we had that in all of our freeways, there is no question that we would be able to assist in the switch over to electric cars. Because the biggest problem is they don't run far enough, long enough. And if you can charge them on the fly while you're driving, you have a vehicle that is going to come much closer to the utility of a gas driven engine.
Yeah,
So-
it's called range anxiety. But I think the bigger issue that I thought you were trying to get to, Brian, is the cost. Because see, gas tax pays for all that road construction that we were talking about. And so you get that gas tax, you pay for road construction. If there's no gas, where are you going to get the money?
I agree with you.
One of the debates we had was, what do we charge for registration for electric vehicle? And we wanted to charge them a lot more money because that's also a place where you get money. So we're going to have to change the revenue structure about, if there's more electric cars, about how we charge them so we can maintain the roads and maintain those expenses. Because right now, if there's no more gas tax, it's like with cigarettes, nobody smokes cigarettes anymore. So all the money that was going to prevent heart disease and stuff goes away, right? You got to, and that's been a big discussion about how we get there.
And most of us saw that coming, though, Senator.
Yeah, I know. It's just that we guys got to implement it. And the other part is that one of the things that's changing now is, I'm very attuned to what's going on in the energy space. There's a new technology called glass batteries. There's so many new things that are going to come in. You're going to get 5,000 miles on a battery. It's going to fundamentally change in the next number of years. Even this lithium stuff is junk to me. It's junk. It's got horrible properties to it. It's heavy. All that stuff's going to change. Ultimately, when you have enough money in a system, it changes the economics. And just like in solar, in my solar business, when I was in the solar business, I worked at Great Solar that worked indoors. I was able to sell my solar to MGM Grand Hotel for $75 a watt, when people here were getting $1 a watt. To this technology world, I watch it very closely. It's changing. So I don't think you're going to have problems of range anxiety much so more. You're going to have problems of revenue to be able to pay for the system is the problem.
Well, I certainly agree with you, and I'd love to discuss those issues with you at some time.
Okay, thank you, Brian. I'm going to go to the last person. Alfredo, you've got the floor.
Actually, I just wanted to, I know we put a lot more money into education, and about the situation that manual arts is not involved, and I'm also a believer that we need to implement that. We throw more money at the education, but obviously you don't get to decide what is taught at the school. So at what level can someone really make an influence, say, hey, I'm going to throw more money at this, but actually we really wanted to make sure that it goes to here. It goes to manual arts, or it goes to, because everything is getting put into pretty much technology and stuff like that at the local schools. And the reason I'm saying this because my youngest just turned 18 and he's a seasoned, but everything is being thrown into mostly technology and not so much the manual arts aspects of today's businesses.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a question that we could spend 10 hours on, because it's the financing of schools is so screwed up. At $22,000 a student, it's crazy. And also LAUSD, I just had to pass a bill because LAUSD used to be 1 million students, including the adult program, and now it's something like 400,000 or something like that. And I had to change the law on certain formulas. I just wrote a bill on that to deal with the schools. And so fewer and fewer, partly because of the pandemic, for a bunch of reasons, but the populations are going down. So yeah, you know, we want to put more money out of that Prop 98, for example, into preschool, but we get into fights with the folks that control that 40 billion, I mean, that 40%, which is like 90 billion, 110 billion. I can't remember. It's a huge number. I mean, just staggering number in terms of how much money it is. But you have hit a very, very big issue. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to ultimately be fixed with a ballot measure, because it's going to be too hard to be able to do. We got to fix the funding formula for education.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, Senator Hertzberg, thank you for your time.
Well, on the contrary, Oscar and everybody, thank you, and Karen and Alvin and Robert and everybody else that's on here, Graham and Brian. Listen, you know, I really appreciate this. It's just to say one thing in close. See, I'm a senator who represents 1 million people. I have colleagues that represent 5 counties and 30 cities, right? I have the biggest of all the senators in the state. I have almost everybody I have is in the city of LA. And most people pay attention to the city council members, even though, you know, we're able to change the law, spend tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on stuff. And so, you know, I have the city of San Fernando, which is about 26,000 people, and I have 14 precincts in Burbank, and the rest is all LA. So my method of communication is through you. And although a lot of the issues that you deal with are at the city level, there's a direct correlation between those things. And it's quite challenging to be able to be a state person, but yet I think it's really, really important. And that's why I like to show up. And I apologize, you know, the pandemic's kind of screwed me up. But if anybody has any ideas, let Edwin know for the last 24 hours. I'm going everywhere in the community, and I got to figure it's easy to go to some place to 3 to 4, 5 to 6, but 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning. I got to stay up for 24 hours. That's my promise. I said that when I first ran, and I'm going to fulfill it. So if you got ideas, give them to me. Where to show up. You know, I go to, you know, Western Bagel, that's open 24 hours. Who else is open? Give me ideas. The bowling alley, maybe, you know.
Okay.
So let me know. Thanks, everybody. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we'll follow up with you in terms of Brian. Edwin's going to take care of that meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Oscar, would you bring Sid back in? He's in attendees.
Why did he move?
Well,
Huh? Why did he hang up and come back? How did he?
Yeah,
make
he
it
probably
10?
got cut off somehow.
See, okay, thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Well, Oscar, we have Mirka from CD 12.
Yes, Karen, yeah, I'm sorry, I see all of them, and we will get, no, thank you, I appreciate that. I'm trying to get Sid to panelists, I don't know why it won't go. All right, well, I tried, so yes, let's move on, because it's already 7:15. Let's move on, let's go back to item C, Gibson, comments from DEN representative, and then we will go to other government officials. Gibson, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Hope your day's going well. Can you guys hear me? Mic check. Just want to confirm. I'm loud and clear. Okay, perfect. So hopefully everybody is staying safe this evening. So just want to make sure. Again, I'm Gibson Yambura. I am with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. And so just want to touch base with folks in regards to some items that were published in the monthly profile. Just want everybody to kind of touch base on that. Just want to let you know that we have Civic U. It's returning in October, And the first 1.0 sessions will be taking part on October 6th at 6:30. This one is in regards to the power structure of Los Angeles City Hall. The next one will be October 13th and the 27th. Also, at the moment, the department is also, we also will be having the Neighborhood Council Core Institute. We'll be having another workshop that's focused on workplace violence and working with difficult people. Also, we'll be touching base on recruiting new Neighborhood Council board members for election. So I think if you're able to just take a look at that, you'll see a lot of good information. One of the few things just highlighting and we're discussing, we have a new commissioner. She just introduced herself this evening, just before this meeting. Her name is Jennifer Valdividia. I hope I say it right. And so on August, at the August 15th Bonk meeting, that's when Brad Finger, the mayor's legislative representative, gave some updates in regards to pending legislation regarding the Barn Act. A couple of the three bills that are being, some of the bills are being mentioned as Assembly Bill 2647, Senate Bill 1100, and Assembly Bill 2449. Also, just want to let everybody know that we are in the process of finalizing the training that is required as part of Council Motion 20-009, which is the gender bias, gender identity training. We have been working with the USC in regards to that. And once it's finalized, it will, all Neighborhood Council board members will be getting an update in regards to that. And also just want to give one last update. This is in regards to the community impact statement. We're trying to have an updated system. We've been having issues of in regards to how folks are able to access that. So we just want to make sure that we let you know that if you've seen any issues with the CIS system whenever it comes to submitting it, please let me know, because I want to make sure that any CISs that have been filed don't go missing. I know there was a problem with the system, but we want to make sure that we are, I'll let you know that it's something that we're working on. So there's a couple of proposed solutions to it, and we will be proactive in regards to that matter.
Okay, thank you, Gibson. So I have a question regarding CU. Are those virtual? Those
the in regards to the Brown Act, those meetings?
Yeah.
Let me just double check.
Or are they actually in person?
I'll be honest with you, I will double check on it because the way that we've been looking, give me a second. So in the update based off of the mayor's team, the first one would be it's still one would be 2647 would exempt local agencies from making materials available to the public. If it will, I'll make some updates in regards if it's virtual. So the first one is virtual. The second one is disruption, which is 1100, and the 2449 to continue, it would be virtual as well.
Okay, can you do me a favor, Gibson?
Yes.
Just elaborate a little more on what that is, because that is an item on our agenda.
Okay.
The first item, and so that way, since you're here, and that way our board members can hear what the Civic CU is all about.
So we're talking about Civic CU, no longer the legislation.
What's that?
We just kind of going to talking about Civic CU, right? Not the. Okay. So just want to touch base on Civic CU. It's something that has been offered previously, but the department sort of had to, we had put a pause on the program. So this is, we are asking board members to appoint, put on agenda item to appoint a board members to attend Civic CU. And we're just asking one thing we want to make sure is the board has taken action for this board members to attend these 3 sessions. They must attend all 3 sessions. And and this would be an opportunity for folks who have not attended Civic U. This is just something that we take action on in regards to, we want to take different elements. We feel as though, what are the best ways for neighborhood council board members to participate within City Hall, and what powers and limitations do they have in their capacity, right? So in the first session, one thing they'll be talking about is the power structure at Los Angeles City Hall. And the next one will be talking about the guts of city government. We'll be giving an emphasis on equity and resources and services. And the third part of this Civic U this time will be empowerment toward inclusion. So that Civic U has always been geared towards neighborhood council board members. And this has been geared towards how would I say this? It's mostly been it's a civic education system, right? Basically in the terminology, but how does that civic leadership look like from a neighborhood council perspective with department training? So that's what it really concentrates upon. I hope I'm more concise on answering that question, or it just needs a little more information.
That's good. Thank you, Gibson. I think that's actually where I was confused. I think I was referring to that, the Civic CU. Are those courses virtual, or are
those courses are virtual? They are virtual.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's see, Brian, you had your hand up, and then I'll go around and call people. You've got the floor.
Okay, Gibson, nice to see you, but I have a question. How do we get our profile accurate? Because for months, and I do mean months, we have had people on our profile who are no longer on this board. And I don't understand why it is so difficult to get people removed. I'm pretty sure we have sent that information in a number of times, and yet our profile still shows people that are not there.
I think on this one, I will sort of take some blame on it, because I should have been able to follow up with the admin team to make sure that it's been updated. Just some miscommunication on our end, and I'll work on it to make sure that it's updated before the next board meeting. And I can follow up with you in regards to that.
I would appreciate it very much. I'm sure the rest of us would say the same thing, because we do not want to have people addressed or expected to be addressed that are not there.
Yes, sir. Not a problem. I'll definitely get on it. I apologize for that.
Thank you. And Karen, I believe you had your hand up, and it's probably the same question, I'm guessing.
Well, no, I just wanted to say to the board members who haven't taken it, Denise and I took it, which is actually on the agenda, but you're fortunate, because Denise and I had to carpool for three meetings downtown. So virtual is definitely great. So it's an excellent class, and you will be better afterwards. So I highly recommend it.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, let's see. We have two more people with questions. So Richard, you've got the floor. Unmute yourself.
Yes, I'm here. Gibson, I'd like to know who and why someone from your office or the city attorney office chose to make a proof of vaccine requirement for a public meeting being held in a couple of months. The city dropped that requirement months and months ago. The LAUSC does not have anything like that. And even the county health department has no mandate like that, only asking for highly recommended for masking.
Are we talking in regards to having neighborhood council meetings, or?
No, this is a town hall meeting for the Kennedy High School, that several NCs are being taken place for the Home Depot project.
I don't have a good answer. I think it's something I'll follow up. I think, I don't believe it was just us. I think is it something I don't have a good answer to that question. Let me find out. Maybe this is in regards, because it's a cross neighborhood councils event. There's a couple of requirements that comes from the city clerk, but I want to confirm before I put any sort of assessment from anybody.
It shouldn't be a requirement. The city doesn't do it. The school system doesn't do it, and the county health department doesn't do it. So.
Okay.
Very strange that someone's putting their own input into it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Something I can follow up on.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly, is that Mr. Hales or Mrs. Hales? You have the floor.
Today it's Mr. Hales.
Well, welcome, Mr. Hales. Good to have you.
Gibson, Thank you very much for what you do. You're an outstanding representative for Dunn. One of the things I'd like to make you aware of is you have quite a few new people that have been coming in for training and Dunn. And in going through probably on average 6 or 7 Zoom meetings a week, I've noticed something that is kind of disturbing. I agree with all of those who have taken the trainings, the various trainings, financial, etc. I've taken multiple ones just to make sure I don't miss it on the first one. However, there are not that many Dunn representatives that takes the 20 seconds out to say, hey, we've got this training available. It would be great if you guys could do that. It's surprising to see all of the Zoom meetings for the neighborhood councils that do not discuss the training. And oftentimes when a topic comes up, for example, with the administration package, why it got kicked back. Well, they don't have 32,000 on there. They've got 42,000. You don't need to go into there, but that's an example. Had they taken the financial training as nothing more than a refresher, they would have seen the document they went through. Thank you so much for what you do. Something to take back to the boss and say, you need to make sure that all of your fellow reps are bringing this up. Because when the people don't know it's available and they don't take it, they get caught in that trap. Thank you.
Thank you, good sir. I appreciate that. I'll definitely bring that up for a team discussion. Just one thing as an NEA for my boards, I try to sort of reiterate what trainings are available, and if any board member needs to take additional training, is something that I'd like to make sure that folks just know we try to provide as much accessibility. Also, just there'll be a couple updates in our department website as well, based off of some of the surveys that have been conducted by the department. To the neighborhood council system. One that we just recently finishing was in regards to virtual meetings. And so my diligence as your NEA is just providing as much information as possible, especially because it's a good opportunity for members of the public such as yourself, Ms. John, Mr. Hills, so we can just make sure that the information is flowing, but I'll definitely bring that messaging up to our team. So thank you.
All right. Karen, is this a question for Gibson, and then we will move on?
Just a quick point of clarification, because I want to say that we as a neighborhood council make sure that our new board members understand what training is required of them. And the department does send out a welcome email as well to the new board members with that information. So just point of clarification, because sometimes stakeholders aren't aware of that we get that. So that's all I have to say. And thank you, Gibson.
No, thank you, Karen. That's a good point. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Miyamura, thank you so much for your time. I don't see any more questions. Let's move on then to Ms. Martinez from Councilmember John Lee's office. Welcome. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm doing well. Hope you guys are doing well as well in this heat. So not a lot of new updates, but just more our new legislation, but more following up on updates that we've had in the past, some changes there. So the 4118, which is the prohibition of sitting, lying, sleeping, and storing personal property within a certain radius of locations, that was officially adopted. And so that should be going to effect. I think there is like 30 days after adoption. I can get more technical with the legislative team, but that is officially adopted. As I've mentioned, the proposal for the hotel ordinance, council voted to have it on the ballot for March 2024. And we also, the council member actually co-presented a motion with his colleagues calling for a citywide street racing action plan. That motion would be like a multi-year plan, and it would address and fight back against the dangerous activities of street racing, intersection takeovers. The council member has been an advocate for better control and more presence of police in our communities. As you may all know, he does overtime funding for that. So that was put into place. And I want to share this for any stakeholders out there that there is a small business academy. The academy is, well, for this year, it's focused on addressing the challenges that small businesses in the construction sector face. And just sharing this because, you know, we've heard of like the supply demand chain being high, and you know, this is something that is hitting a lot of new developments in our community, the delay. So this academy will focus on upcoming city projects and contract compliances and more. And so that is going to close on the 12th of this month to submit your application. And I wanted to also share that we do have the LEAD 12 applications open through this Friday, the 9th. So as you guys may know, LEAD 12 is a high school leadership program. We bring high school students from across our district, or sometimes even from outside our district, to grow their leadership capacity and show them a little more about civic engagement. So this program runs throughout the semester. It shows them about how the city of Los Angeles functions and operates. And it's pretty fun. They used to be in person, but we're gonna take these as virtual, but hopefully there's some field trips within that. So that closes this Friday. And lastly, I just want to thank everyone who attended the conversations with council last month. I thought it was very informative. We heard good feedback. So thank you for all those who attended and those who didn't. We hope to see you in the next one. They're always very informative because you have the experts on a certain program or project there for them to answer any questions you may have. So that's all I have. And as always, if you guys know how to contact me if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. We do have some hands up, so let me go around the room. Start with, see, I believe Sid, you had your hand up first.
Thank you. Just a couple questions. I brought it up before that the unrepaired sidewalk on the east side of Balboa between Knollwood and the shopping center. I think it's a dangerous thing. My daughter was visiting and she was forced to cross the street and whatever, and was not able to walk down to the shopping center when she was visiting. And the second one, which is on our agenda today, has to do with these pop-up restaurants all over District 12. What is the councilman any idea about doing there?
The Knollwood sidewalk, we are aware of it. It is, I think it's on your agenda to approve for the council member, or to submit a letter for the council member to approve funding for it. I think that needs to be worked out with the department, our office, and Kathy Lettieri is our public works deputy, so she'll know exactly where that is in the process, but I can check in for you and let her know.
It's been going on for months, you know, it's not something new.
Yeah.
Ms. Martinez, who is that person again? Kathy what?
Kathy Lettieri.
Can you email me her contact information, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then your pop-up restaurant question, I think back in the, well, it was a different council member, but I think the thoughts are still aligned in terms of respecting the brick and mortar restaurants that, as I forgot who mentioned to the senator, you know, pay the taxes and fees and all that stuff. So I think the council member, you know, would move on something that would be beneficial to the small businesses. He's always having seminars, or we have like our small business loans. but at the same time allowing for implementation of collecting fees to get started. And all that has been on pause during the pandemic. And there's also, as you all have mentioned, legislation that is statewide that would supersede any, or not any, but some efforts if the council member would try. So there's not an openness on what can be done, right? There's other things that need to be looked at when trying to implement, to introduce motions on this.
No, it's a safety issue and a health issue, and it just festers. Nothing's being done. That's my concern.
Thank you, Sid. Luckily, we have them on the agenda so that we can discuss it and then take a position. But no, thank you for bringing them up. Absolutely, especially that sidewalk on Balboa. That's a huge safety issue. Alvin, you've got the floor.
Hi, Mirka. Nice to see you again. I think one thing that I was going to bring up, which I did bring up at the conversation with the council, was I do understand, of course, the big push to go back to meetings in person, which, I mean, it's fine, but it's, the ongoing question really is if there's any further updates on just kind of what the plan is as far as security. Because I mean, it's again with what I mentioned at the conversation of the councils. I mean, we saw what has been happening at the council meetings. I mean, my thing is if something like that's not taken seriously, I mean, we could be looking at turning into, another Shasta County. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I would highly encourage you to read that article, because basically, in summary, it's kind of a situation where something like that wasn't taken seriously, and that town is in a complete uproar because of that.
I can follow up with their legislative team. I do recall the council member bringing that up in one of our meetings for the legislative team to start looking more into that process of, going back in person and how it would look like. So I can follow up with the legislative team because they're the ones working on that.
Okay.
Thank you. We have one more, Ms. Martinez, and then we will move on. So Mr. McHale or Mr. Hale, please unmute yourself.
It'll be Mrs. Hales this
Oh,
time.
okay, well, now it's Mrs. Hales.
Mrs. Hales, okay, Michelle Hales. Hi, America. I appreciate what you do. I need your help with something. I use the 311 app. John and I both use it frequently. And there's been a lot of, people dump furniture and, appliances and everything. And I get notes back from the 311 app that says it's closed. And it says, and then it'll say, you can't access it. And it was like a lot of furniture. It's like right there on the street and they can't. And then it'll say, oh no, we picked it. Then another time it'll say, we picked it up. How do I get that, something like that followed through, like to make sure that I have to keep sending them 311, messages. I take pictures. I put the exact address. I'm very specific. I'm a teacher, so I'm very, specific about, details. So, so how do I get that cleared up?
So there's like parent service requests, and when you call it in, I would suggest if it's a repeated, right, they close it out without actually servicing it, I would share the service request that you originally submitted and were given for the one that you're calling back on, so they can put it under that and it can show that it wasn't serviced. Or you can send it over to me and I can do it as well. Or not do it as well. I don't have that ability actually. Only the one reps do, but I can send it over to our rapid response team if they're able to service it, or send it over directly to the supervisor with the notation of that service request not being completed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Martinez, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Always informative. And okay, so thank you again. Let's
Thank you.
move on then to, we have Ms. Oganessian. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Please forgive me.
Yeah, so hello everyone, my name is Diana. I'm from Assemblywoman Valderaz's office. So the legislative session has officially come to an end for the year. The Assemblywoman is proud to announce that 7 of her bills have passed during her first term in the Assembly. These bills are AB 277, which increases access to state services for victim abuse. This bill is now law. AB 319 allows the California Fair Political Practices Commission to enforce the laws that ban foreign government campaign contributions in state and local elections. AB 321 makes families in which the primary home language is not English eligible for priority enrollment in state childcare services. AB 418 would have established a grant program to help local governments provide essential services during public safety power shutoffs. Unfortunately, the governor did veto this bill. AB 1788 lets district attorneys impose civil penalties on hotel and motel owners who knowingly allow sex trafficking to occur and do not report it to law enforcement. AB 2450 conveys a working group to outline ways to reduce insurance costs for Californians living in high wildfire risk areas. And finally, AB 2640 requires the Department of Education to create a website that provides guidance to schools to help protect kids with food allergies. I know some people may have questions about the Reseda exit closure on the 118. I just want to let you guys know that our office was able to get a Caltrans representative to attend the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council meeting next week on September 14th to give an update on what's going on and when they're expected for it to finish. They'll be able to answer all the questions that you guys have about it. And yeah, just a reminder that our district office is here to help you guys with any state agencies. That's it for me.
Okay, any questions? Okay, I'm going to ask the one question that I did ask Mr. Hertzberg, and that is, what was Mrs. Valladares' position in regards to a sales tax or gas tax moratorium versus rebates?
Yeah, so she pushed really hard to have a gas tax moratorium, and especially since gas prices did increase in July. But fortunately it didn't pass. But she was against the rebates at first, but since that was the only thing that there was to offer, she did support the bill that was passed.
So she did support it at the end of the day because there was not enough support for.
Yeah, she
gas
wanted
tax
some type of
moratorium.
relief for the gas, and since nothing else was being offered, and that was the only thing that's what she supported.
Okay. All right, any other questions? None. Thank you so much. We appreciate, again, your time. Good to see you yet again. So thank you. Okay, let's see now. Let's move on to Ms. Guzman from Assembly Member Rivas's office.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Guzman, and I'm a field representative with Assemblymember Luis Rivas. At this time, our office still actively helps with constituent casework, and some of the common agencies that we work with are the EDD, DMV, the Housing is Key program, Caltrans, the State Franchise Tax Board, and California Public Utilities Commission. If you ever need assistance being connected to these agencies, you're welcome to contact us. In regards to past community events, our team was happy to collaborate with Los Angeles Mission College last month for their college registration fair. The Assemblywoman was thrilled to attend and formally announced to the students that our district had been awarded with $10 million to expand Los Angeles Mission College by building and establishing a regional STEM hub. The STEM hub will greatly benefit college students who are seeking career opportunities in the field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics by providing them with the resources needed to successfully help them achieve their academic goals. In regards to budget updates, our team is proud to share that 8039 was recently awarded with $14.8 million from the California Department of Housing and Community Development program for the Home Key program. Through this funding, the Home Key program will aim to construct more housing units within our district and provide supportive services to aid individuals who are experiencing homelessness. These are critical investments through the state to be able to connect individuals with supportive housing services and offer them those resources needed. For anyone who's interested in learning more about the Home Key program, you're welcome to email me. And in regards to legislative updates, Assemblywoman Rivas is proud to share that 7 of her bills that she introduced are currently awaiting for signature from the governor. Those bills include AB 2375, AB 2238, AB 2229, AB 2404, AB 1868, AB 1832, and AB 1894. And if anyone has any questions about these bills, you're welcome to email me or contact our district office. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Guzman. Any questions for Ms. Guzman? I don't see any hands. Ms. Guzman, I'm going to ask you the same question I've asked the previous two, and that is, what was Mrs. Rivas's position on the gas tax moratorium or rebates?
Yeah, so Assemblywoman Rivas was supportive of the gas relief plan that was introduced and the rebates that were offered to help provide some relief to those individuals who were affected by those high gas prices.
So the question is, how do we know who, how can they identify who those individuals are that are affected by those high gas taxes? Because I think all of us in California are affected by those high gas taxes.
Right, so I do believe they were potentially looking into individuals' income, but I'm not quite too sure about that. But if you're interested, I could go ahead and follow up with our ledge team just to confirm.
Okay. No, I was just curious because I know for me, again,
Mhm.
I think I mentioned this before, from an equitable perspective, it would have made more sense just to have a gas tax moratorium versus sending money out just based on, to your point, a person's income level. So not sure how you can identify the equity with that. So thank you. I did have another, actually something that I'd like to put on task for either assembly member representative or take this back to your assembly member. The reason why, or one reason why we do have these high gas taxes is because there was a measure on the ballot to repeal those gases that were forced on us. I'm going to use that word forced by our legislators. Unfortunately, that measure did not pass because it was written or it was renamed to confuse the voter. And that was done by our Attorney General. So the question I have for you, or actually the task that I would like to recommend, is that somebody put a bill together that would strip the Attorney General of that power, and anyone else for that matter. A measure should be put on the ballot as it was indicated, as it was instructed to be done. Nobody should have the power to change it to confuse a constituency. So I put that to you, Ms. Oganisayan and Ms. Guzman. So please let your representative know that. Something I think should be considered.
Thank you again, and we'll keep note of your feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, let's see, do we have any other? Sorry, everyone. I think we're done with government officials. Mr. Fisk, actually, I do apologize. Do you have any updates for us?
No, I really don't have any updates. There was a homicide in Northridge just a few days ago, which will be on the stats. And you do know, our senior lead officer Parker is on vacation until the end of the month. And senior lead officer Corral has moved from the southeast part of the division to take Danny DeVal's spot and covering Chatsworth and Porter Ranch area. So I really don't have any more to add to that. Crime is up again, according to the slow reports. Burglary is the biggest one, up in double digits, 57 and 61% in our two areas. That's all I really have to say.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, and thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Fisk? I see none. Okay, so let's move on. Thank you everyone for your patience. So let's move on to item E, public comment on agenda and non-agenda items. So if anybody in the public has anything, please raise your hand. Okay, I see none. So let's move on then to item F. President, I have nothing at the moment. So moving on to item G. And the first item is motion to appoint interested GHNNC board members to take Civic CU. NC board members are encouraged by General Manager Beltran to sign up for Civic CU taught by Cal State University of Los Angeles. This is an excellent course via Zoom about Los Angeles city government operations. So this is the one that Gibson kind of elaborated on. So if there's anyone is interested, please let us know. And we will certainly point you in the right direction. And to Karen's point, I've not taken it, but now that it's virtual, I'm actually going to see if I can. Hopefully it fits into my schedule with everything else that I've got going on. But if you can, by all means, consider it. Okay. Any questions or comments on that from anyone? Please raise your hand. Okay, I see none. So let's go on to item G2. Motion to approve the following board meeting minutes. Now, those were emailed to you early this morning. I hope you had time to review them. So I will open up the floor to any comments or questions. Let's see, Karen, you've got the floor.
Yes, thank you. There's just a couple of minor corrections on the minutes for the July meeting. That was under the executive committee, item number 3, the correction of the spelling of my name, and where it had the vote, it was blank instead of 11. So that just needs to be corrected there. And that's it.
Thank you, Karen. Other than that, was there, and no, thank you for catching that. Anything else?
No, that's
Okay.
all I could see.
Okay, so for the July, then we can, well, I would say then let's move forward and take a vote. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. And the July minutes would be with the caveat that it be revised for those few items that Karen mentioned. Okay, so let's just take a vote. We'll be voting on both the July and August at one time, unless there's anyone opposed to that. Denitza, yes, you have your hand.
It's just, I wanted to abstain for the July 5th meeting because I wasn't there.
Okay.
So
well,
I don't know how we could do that.
Let's just do one at a time then. So
okay.
let's
Sorry about that.
No.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying. It makes it easier. So let's vote on the July 5th board meeting. So again, with the caveat that it's going to be revised for those 2 items. So any opposed, please state your name. I hear none. Any abstentions, please state your name.
Denitza Pantoja.
Okay. Denitza Pantoja, I hear no others. Okay, therefore, those in favor, or let's see, I've got Ralph on here. Sid. Okay, so we have 13 present, therefore 12 are in favor. Okay, so that motion passes. All right, now let's move on to the August 4th, 2022 board meeting. Any opposed to those minutes?
Oscar, I'm gonna have to abstain because I wasn't at that meeting.
Okay, well, let me get to the abstentions, but right now I'm opposed. I hear none. Okay, abstentions, AJ?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any others?
Oscar, I'll abstain as well. I was absent from the August meeting.
Okay, any others? Thank you, gentlemen. I hear none. Okay, in favor, therefore, that would be 11. Yeah. Okay, Alfredo, correct me if I'm wrong with my counts, please. Okay, so.
You're good, abstain too. There's 13 of us total, so.
Okay, perfect. So 11 in favor. We're good. Okay, discussion and motion to approve the following MPGs. And by the way, let me, David, Mr. Hartmeyer, let me move you over to panelist. So I don't,
Oscar, we have Larry Fleck for the foundation and Mr. Harwire for the Y.
okay, so Larry Fleck, and I'm sorry, I tried emailing it early to, I can't remember, someone by the name of Madalena. But okay, Larry, let me move you up to panelist, and then we will start with you. So the first item on here is discussion motion to approve the following MPGs. The first one is up to 3,000 to the Granada Foundation for the 17th annual Granada Hills Street Fair to be held on Saturday, October 22nd, 2022.
Oscar, point of order. Do we have Nathan Lee as? We have him here. Let me see. Oh, it's just quiet. Okay, sorry.
He's here.
Sydney Gold is in attendees.
What?
Again, Sid, how are you doing this? You keep moving back and forth. Okay, let me see if I can move you back to panelist, but thank you. He's been moving back and forth.
Because he's been voting without voting.
That's pretty talented, Sid. Hey.
Sorry about that. I keep on losing a connection. So.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, welcome back. Okay, so let's have Mr. Fleck. Or let's see. Did everyone have a chance to see that MPG? If not, let me see. I think I've got it up here.
I was going to say it's best to put that up.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen if I can figure this stuff out. I can be technically challenged at times. Don't say anything, anyone, especially you, Karen.
It's not a disability. Maybe that math may be a disability, but
it's just a brain cells. You know, you've been isolated for so many days. They kind of start dying out. So here we have, this is a letter. Move this thing over here. Okay, so here's the letter. Let me.
Oh, that letter is from the Chamber of Commerce.
Move down. Okay, so here is the MPG.
But actually, Oscar, could you please scroll up for a moment?
Sure.
I want to see the signature on that letter.
Well, it's from the chamber, Karen.
So it's signed by Madalena, but on like the top says the chamber and the bottom says Madalena from the.
Yeah, Oscar, I agree with Karen. Can we go up to that letter?
Yes, hold on. Thank you. Let's see. Was there a revised document?
Okay, so they say President Foundation. Okay, then scroll up some more.
Okay, notice that it is not signed. It has a signature block, but it is not signed.
It's not signed. Okay. All right.
And unfortunately, this letter is on Chamber of Commerce letterhead, and it is signed by Madalena. Could you go down just a little bit, Oscar? And she's representing her. Oh, too far. Back up.
I'm looking for.
I want to see what she. Okay. Okay. See, unfortunately, this letter, if we're going to accept anything, we have to change this because it's on Chamber of Commerce letterhead, and she's signing it as the president of the Community Foundation. Those two do not. They are not the same. All right. They are distinctly different and legally different. So that letter needs to be changed if there's going to be an approval here.
Just to tag on to what Brian said, Brian and I actually both addressed this issue with, there's a little bit of a training issue going on there. So we'll make, that letter would have to be corrected.
Can I ask you to scroll up a little bit more, Oscar? All the way to the top.
Scroll up to where?
Beginning. Yeah, right from the beginning. Keep going. Yeah, right there. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have a for-profit business and a 501c3, you can't commingle those.
Yeah, however, I mean, she included a cover letter, which most people don't. They just give us the MPG filled out. So I don't know if that's really a point of.
Well, there's a position of legalities here. The 501c3 does not run or control the Chamber of Commerce. And the Chamber of Commerce cannot control a 501c3. So, this is a difficult
Alright.
letter. It should not have been written that way.
So how does the actual NPG form say?
I'm sorry?
The NPG
How
is
does the
correct.
actual NPG form
Here
go?
is Granada Hills Community Foundation. There's a 501c.
That's the IRS.
That's a
And-
tax document,
Yeah,
right?
that's okay. The
That's okay.
signatures on the NPG
Right there.
are,
That's fine.
back down,
Those are,
Those are
Right-
Madeline and Emil.
right there, Madalena. And I don't know who Emily Kostler is.
She's from from the foundation as well. So that, I mean, this part is okay. Just the letter needs to be
Do we
revised.
know that she is actually a member of the foundation?
Yes, we do. I'm on the foundation.
Okay, thank you.
okay, so Granada Hills Community Foundation. And the tax document, the 501c, is for the Granada Hills Community Foundation, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so there's just a discrepancy in the letter. Now, do we need a letter if we already have the NPG and the tax document for the 501c?
I would say no, we do not need that letter.
No.
We wouldn't accept that letter.
Okay, so there really is, so we can say that we can move forward. We do have what we need to be able to have a discussion and or a position on this.
Yes,
NPG, correct?
Right.
yes.
If we may hear from Mr. Fleck.
Yes, no, thank you. But I just want to make sure that all this is in order because I know, it's been vetted and we want to make sure that before it's brought up to the board, everything's in order and any issues have been addressed with the submitters, right? So
Yes.
with that, Mr. Fleck, you have the floor if you want to speak on behalf of this MPG.
Yes, hi all. Thanks for considering us. As most of you know, we've been around long enough to know that we have a very good relationship and we're both community oriented. We appreciate you guys. You guys have supported us for long before I've been involved with the street fair, and I've been involved for about 5 years now. So as if anybody I think you all know what the street fair is about. Do you have any questions? Does anybody not understand what's going on there and what we're doing with the community?
Well, I have a question.
Okay, Ralph, hold on. Okay, so you've had your hand up. Go ahead. You've got the floor.
Hi, Ralph.
Okay, I'm a member of the chamber. Am I supposed to recuse myself for this?
No,
Okay, I just want to bring it up.
You're a member of the chamber, but it's not the chamber who's filing this.
Well, the chamber is the one that is also putting up the street fair.
yeah, but Ralph, you are not a member of the of the
Foundation.
Granada Hills Foundation, is that correct?
No, I'm just a member of the RIA, active member of the board.
Okay, then it doesn't matter that you're on the chamber. It doesn't matter that the foundation is supplying funds to the chamber. The fact is that the foundation is a independent 501c3. And unless you are a member of the foundation and a officer of the foundation, you would not have any reason to recuse yourself.
Well, I'm also a member of the Patriot Oil Committee that,
Doesn't matter,
okay. I'd rather get that clear.
in my opinion.
How can I help you, Ralph?
Excuse me. Okay, so for future reference, and I think we've had this before, when these things come up or anything comes up before this board that you may think is a conflict or that you may think you need to recuse yourself, in my email to the board, there is a contact information for the legal department, and it clearly says if you so feel so, or if there's any possibility, please reach out to them. So in the future, please pay attention to these details and reach out to the legal department in advance of this meeting so that we can have kind of guidance. They will give you the guidance in terms of whether you should recuse yourself or not. Okay. So for this one,
Oscar, can I just say one more thing? I apologize. Sorry for the interruption, but one, I'm not sure if everybody's aware. In the past, we've had really amazing support from Supervisor Barger in District 5. And as everybody know, that the lines were redrawn and now we're governed by District 3 and Supervisor Kuehl. This year, she didn't want to give anything to us, and we've depended by and large. I mean, to make this thing happen, it's been Supervisor Barger that's really stepped up and made this event happen. Madalena, after about quite a bit of, she went back and forth with Supervisor Kuehl's office and finally got almost 10% of what we've gotten in the past, but it's a huge shortfall of where what we used to get from Supervisor Barger. So we're really struggling to keep this thing going. We will have a really good event, but it's tough. It's really tough to make the ends meet. So whatever you guys can do, we really appreciate our partnership with y'all. So any questions for
Thank
me?
you, Mr. Fleck. No, and it's a great event. I love it. It's amazing how much it draws community, people from all over the place. So, okay. I don't see any other hands. Any other questions?
Yes. Can I ask, Larry, what's your affiliation with the foundation?
I'm a board member.
You're a board member of the foundation?
Yes, sir.
And how long have you been a board member of the foundation?
This is my first year.
Okay, thank you. And are you also a member of the Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Karen?
Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, Larry. I just want to say, as a stakeholder and then as a board member, it's just the best event. And I encourage support of this NPG. And we had a great time last year we actually met the new board members for GHNNC for the first time because we had been shut down. So just the community loved it. Always great support, great to see the stakeholders, great to engage the community, lots of fun. So
I completely agree. And I echo your sentiment. It's something that we should support. Okay, I don't see, Brian?
Yeah, last thing. I'm also in support of helping fund the street fair. I don't have an issue with helping to fund it. I do have an issue with the foundation and my faith in the foundation handling their affairs appropriately. And I'm willing to take a chance again in as far as my vote goes, but I would like to propose that a motion, and the motion is to reduce the 3,500 to 2,000. And I do that simply because I have seen in the past where the chamber has taken control of the funds of the foundation without having been given the funds from the foundation. And I have also, I also know that we're going to be asked to fund the parade as well later on. I think an amount of $7,000 is an awful lot of money should we be asked to support again at 3,500. So I think a $4,000 if we end up supporting both events is a sizable amount of money for the amount of money this NC gets. And I would highly recommend that we consider $2,000 for this event. And let me share, it is the foundation's responsibility to seek money. And I think it's, you know, I'm a little bit insulted by being told that we're not getting money from Barger's office and we're having a hard time raising funds. So therefore, NCs, please support us at a higher level so that we makes our job easier. I think it's imperative that a organization which is sole duty, sole purpose, sole activity is to raise funds. They should be out there hitting the streets and finding the money from wherever they can get it from. and I know they'll get it from CD12. I know they'll get it from Patriot Oil. There are places to go who have a lot more funds than we have.
Wow.
Well, I certainly didn't mean to insult you, Brian. I'm not sure where you got that notion from. For you guys' sole purpose is to give and give back to the community too, from my understanding, in all due respect. So this has been a great event. You guys have always stepped up big in the past. And this isn't unusual to request and get 3,500 from you. I mean, we appreciate whatever we get, but I'm not sure who insulted you. Nobody certainly intended to insult you.
It's the one that's
The
installed.
foundation, I've been watching pretty close. They've got a really good treasurer in there, and we don't have any control over those funds. So I'm not sure where you got that from, honestly.
The
You
foundation
were-
should have control over the funds. And
Well, they
on
do.
top of that, I happen to
Okay.
know that the
Point of
foundation.
order. Okay,
Point of
so let's
order.
focus on,
Yeah, but it needs to be heard, Oscar, that the foundation actually bounced checks this year. So I think it's imperative that we be critical here and not throw our money at an organization that has not shown that it can be in control. Now, maybe it's perfectly in control today, but it wasn't when I was there.
Well, who was the treasurer when you were there?
I was the treasurer, and it wasn't
Okay.
under my domain in which the bounce checks happened. It was after I left.
Well, okay, Brian, that's a whole nother discussion. We
So-
can talk
so
about
Okay,
how you left
point-
as well.
let's,
So I don't think we need to have that discussion now, but to say that, okay, let's just not go there. And I'm not aware of that, by the way. As to my knowledge, nothing bounced. We've got a really good treasurer in there now, and she's doing a marvelous job. So let's have that discussion at another time.
Okay.
Okay,
Oscar,
thank
if I
you.
may make a quick point and so I
Karen,
can wrap
yes.
this up.
Go
I'd
ahead.
like to say that last year, and I don't have the number in front of me, of course, but I think we all know that we returned money to the city of Los Angeles. The $32,000 that we receive, the neighborhood councils receive, is the taxpayers' dollars. It's not our money. And in our community, we don't have a number of events that we can fund like in other parts of the city. So this is a huge, it's a very successful event. And administrative issues, of course, I mean, that really doesn't have anything to do with us. We do receive we have an event. They take good care of us as a neighborhood council and even our location and proximity to everything. And this is our community and we are Granada Hills. And, I'm sure Larry will be happy to take back the administrative notes because if there are some issues there, they should be addressed. But for the community, we get taxpayer dollars for $32,000. We returned money to the city. Let's not return it. Let's fund the $3,500 and give our community, do what we're supposed to do for the community. Thank you.
Alfredo, you've got the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I do appreciate you stepping up, Larry, and coming in and asking, because sometimes people don't show up and we make it a point. That letter also kind of shouldn't be in here on this NPG. However, the form that we utilize for the city seems to be fine too. And also as far as a personal vendetta, I don't necessarily think that that's what's happening here. I'm saying that we're kind of insulted. I know that that's how it was started, but I don't think that that's what's going on here. I think 3,500 is perfectly fine. I'll second what Karen Waters said.
Thank you. Appreciate
Alvin?
you.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been an advocate of the street fair. I mean, it's been rewarding to serve and attend as well. I mean, just as long as, everything, I mean, I'm in support of the NPG, but I mean, everything does have to be correct on the paperwork. I mean, there's just no way around that. I mean, it's just a matter of being fair. I mean, I had to sit through the training and, learn through all of this. So, I mean, it's just, I think, you know, us just looking at like just the administrative issues in the letter, I mean, it's just a matter of just being fair. I don't want to, I mean, I don't want to see our funds given back to the city, but I mean, just as long as everything's corrected, this is just a matter of being fair to other NPGs that we fund.
Understood. And let me clarify, if there was any checks bounced, to my knowledge, there wasn't, but if it happened during the bank transfer. We switched banks from the big box store, Wells Fargo, to a local bank who is a member of the chamber and does a lot in the community. And if it happened during the transfer of funds. It certainly wasn't because somebody wasn't paying attention. We've got a really good group of folks that are paying attention. I do apologize for the letter on the letterhead from the chamber. That's an oversight, and I do apologize. That will not happen again.
And Larry, just to clarify, my point is strictly about the letter, wasn't about the, you know, regarding the bounce checks or anything like that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sid, you've got the floor.
Yeah, just a point of order. Where are we? Are we on 3,500? I take it no one seconded Brian's.
I did not hear a second.
So we're still on. So I move to close debate and call for a vote.
Okay, I'll second that. So any opposed to that? State your name. Any abstentions, state your name. Okay, so we're going to close the discussion and move forward to
On the money matters, don't we have to take a roll call vote or no?
That's a roll
Yes.
call. Or
Yes.
yes.
The only point of order though is, don't we have to make a motion for the letter to be corrected?
The letter is not important in the.
No, because a letter is not required as part of the submission.
It was just a cover letter, and cover letters aren't required as a part of the packet.
Okay.
They have the application, they have the 501c tax document. But thank you for asking, Alvin.
Thank you, no.
Okay, so Brian.
Got it. 1 second. Okay. We're ready for a vote on the NPG for the foundation. Okay, me? No. Karen?
Yes.
Sid?
Yes.
Oscar?
Yes.
Raheem?
Yes.
Alfredo?
Yes.
Ralph?
yes,
Danitza?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Alvin?
Yes.
Nathan?
Yes.
Graham?
Yes.
And Robert?
Yes.
Yes.
12 yeses, it passes.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's then move on to the next item. And the next item is another MPG up to 2,500 to the North Valley YMCA Border Ranch for Thanksgiving for families in need. And here we have Mr. my apologies, Hartmeyer. And let me put that MPG. You guys, can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
So you see the one for North Valley YMCA?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to scroll down. And this one is for 2,500 of 50,000. Or actually I lied, 60,000 the total budget. So Mr. Hartmeyer, welcome. So I will let you take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Menes. Thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to present this. Many of you may be aware, I'm sure you are, our YMCA has been providing Thanksgiving meals for families in the community for almost 20 years now. We partner with our schools in the Valley to identify families in need. We enlist donations from corporations, businesses, individuals, foundations, and we mobilize over 500 volunteers to make it all happen. The past several years, we've been giving out over 3,000 meals. Last year was about 3,600 meals that we gave out, and it's a big job, a big task. It makes a big impact. We work with several schools that are in your neighborhood council district, and we'll hope that you'd be able to support us this year with our project going forward. I guess you probably know about the program. I'm only been there about a year now, but if you have any questions, I could answer your questions for you.
I have a question.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ralph, you got the floor.
Okay. The question I have, are these individuals in need from the Porter Ranch area, or are they from the whole valley?
It's just about the entire San Fernando Valley. So we
Oh, you froze up, I believe, Mr. Hartmeyer.
So it's for the whole valley? Hello?
He's frozen.
Yes, we need to. I do have some questions too.
Because
I did notice that item number 7 is a bit it's conflicting.
The reason
Actually,
I,
number 7.
You're right, because he says no, but he lists other NCs.
That has to be changed to it. That should be corrected to a yes, because there's Granada South, Northridge. That's kind of small. I can't read that too. I think that's Northridge South, Northridge West.
Northridge South, Northridge West, Chatsworth, Northridge East, and Porter Ranch.
It's just
Okay,
Yes.
so
another thing too. I don't know.
local, it isn't the whole valley.
Well, I mean, for our perspective, it is, there are in our district, in our boundaries of Granada North.
So, Mr. Hartmeyer, are you back? You kind of froze there for a moment. So
yeah, I
assume-
got
okay,
kicked
so
out.
you-
I don't know what happened. Can you hear me?
So we can hear you, and I think you left off, the last was that you said you served the San Fernando Valley. That's kind of the last of what we've got.
Yeah, we work with every school in the Valley and their administrators to identify families. So just about every single elementary school and most middle schools and high schools identify families that take advantage of the meals.
Okay.
And I believe, Alfredo, you had your hand up, so you've got the floor.
Yeah, I was just trying to point out there's a couple of things that are, I mean, the notion, it's all, I love the notion, obviously, I love what you're trying to do there. It's just I wanted to see how the form is filled out, because a couple of things that conflict that don't seem to be questions that are answered no when it should be yes, or go scroll down a little bit, sir, a little bit more.
Yeah, the question with the neighborhood councils.
That
Yes.
one, and if yes, what was it? Yeah, can you answer that for us? Because we're seeing that you said
Yeah,
no.
so
and-
the answer that's I could send you an updated version. That the answer there is yes. We're working with, well, we're hoping to meet with over 10 neighborhood councils.
Okay. Okay, and then the other thing was that explain to us the other sources of funding, including the MPG and other NCs. It says no, but you put those items on there, individual and corporate donations.
Well, I do know that Patriot Oil has been donating to them too.
Sorry, Ralph?
I say, I do know that Patriot Oil, Amenities Group, has been donating for that. But we have boundaries that we can donate on, so I don't know how to take that.
Yeah, it's probably just
Yeah,
semantics,
so-
because we're gonna do the program. How many meals we're able to give away depends on how much money we're able to raise.
Okay, but I think that here, just a few little technicalities that probably need to be corrected. Item 7, I believe that should be yes, and then.
Right,
item
I'll send you an
8,
updated form.
I think item 8 probably should be yes, because you list others below, individual
Okay.
corporate donations, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, Karen, do you have your hand? So you've got the floor.
Yes, well, thank you very much, David. It's nice to have you join us this evening and great program. My question to you is about the, but when do you give these meals? I mean, what's the date before Thanksgiving that you actually
So
distribute?
we assemble all the baskets on the weekend of November 12th and 13th. That's Veterans Day weekend, and then we distribute them on Monday, the 14th of November.
Okay, and is there turkey in that packet?
So we used to, but handling 3,000 frozen turkeys became a logistical nightmare. So we now give the families gift cards so that they could buy a turkey.
All right. And lastly, how would we if we wanted to volunteer, does this take place at your facility in
Yeah,
Fort
it's at the
Ranch?
YMCA. I could send you all the information on volunteering. We love to have we need volunteers on that Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, yeah, I think it's great. I think about I can't speak for other board members, but I've never been without a Thanksgiving meal ever. And for those of us all on this board who have never been without one, imagine what that would be like. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Brian, you've got the floor.
I believe that city clerk is going to have some consternation if 6 isn't able to be understood better. The $2,500 that he is being asked for here is 5% of the 50,000. And you have 6 NCs listed. So you said you wanted to go to 10 NCs, so it's 7, including us. So there needs to be a little more consistency with the numbers. They need to add up better. And I disagree on 8, Oscar. I think that should stay no, because the program isn't dependent on anybody else. So I believe that one is correct.
Okay, thank you. We'll leave it as is then for that one. Thank you for clarifying, Brian.
Brian, regarding number 6, the neighborhood councils do support the program, but let's say out of all the neighborhood councils combined, if we got exactly what we're asking, it would be about $15,000. And we raised 60. We're hoping to raise $75,000 this year.
I understand where you're going with that, and I appreciate that. I'm not questioning what you're doing. I'm just saying that if NC Funding, who approves everything we do as far as spending money, if they see $50,000 and $2,500, they're going to ask, well, where's the rest of the money coming from? If I was doing this, I would add up what you are getting from the NCs or expect to get from the NCs, and allow that to be a single source of funding. There's nothing that says that a organization can't fundraise from various places, but regardless of how many places you've raised funds from, it's not pertinent to the NC system. If you just said $2,500 and nobody else, you didn't list anybody else, you'd be perfectly fine too, because whether you seek funds from other NCs or not, the fact is the $2,500 that if we put $2,500 in, you're going to use that funds to provide what you're asking to provide. It's just going to be a portion of what you're providing. So either way, I'm good with it. I'm just telling you that I know NC Funding is going to scrutinize. They're doing more and more scrutiny as time goes on, and they will ask questions. They could ask questions as to how does this work.
Understood. Thank you.
Would they worry about getting from, let's say, Patriot Oil?
Thank you,
They
Brian.
don't care. No, the NC Funding doesn't care where they get their money from. They only care what we're spending and the importance of what we're spending. That's all.
Okay, so that's just an additional fund that isn't necessary by the NC funding.
No, NC funding doesn't, they could raise $10 million and ask us for 2,500.
Let's just point of order in the future, Ralph, if you want to make a comment, please raise your hand so that we can keep this in order. Please, thank you. Sid, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the concept. I just want to understand, what is the gift card for? Is it for a family? And how much is it usually per person?
So last year we gave each family a $15 Smart and Final gift card. So with the intention that they would buy their turkey with that.
So do you have any idea how many people came from our neighborhood council?
So the exact number, if I were to look at the schools in your area, we averaged about 50 baskets per school. So I'd say about 200 families from your district.
Okay. That sounds reasonable. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, any others? I don't see any more hands. So
Yes, Oscar. May I please? The idea of a gift card. Is that anywhere on this NPG? Does that say that there will be gift cards provided?
No, no.
I would highly recommend that that discussion be removed, simply because NC funding, if they look at us giving money, they will consider it a gift of public funds, and they would not approve that. So I wouldn't want to take a chance on it, and I would honestly say, and I can say that this is all being recorded. The fact is, we are not sanctioning the gifting of funds. We are simply providing funds to a 501c3. And how you distribute them is your business.
That's correct. Okay, so let's close this item for discussion. It is 8:30. We need to keep moving forward. Okay, so Brian, if you could,
Okay. We're ready to vote?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Me, yes. Karen? You're muted.
Sorry, yes.
Sid?
Yes.
Oscar?
Yes.
Raheem?
Yes.
Alfredo?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
Denitza?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Alvin?
Yes.
Nathan?
Yes.
Graham?
Yes.
And Robert?
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Two down,
Okay.
5 to go.
Thank you very much, everyone. I hope to see you the Veterans Day weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Okay, and let's move on then to item number 4. Discussion motion for GHNNC to request Councilmember John Lee to amend the Granada Hills specific plan to prohibit street vending businesses within its boundaries. Anyone have any questions or comments on that? And as we can see, I mean, this came up because there are a lot of street vendors. It's growing, the numbers are growing, and of course, the safety risks that it's causing. So. Okay, I don't see any comments or questions.
Well, yeah, I should say one thing, Oscar. I don't believe that this can be achieved. I think there are ordinances and positions taken by city council that would negate the ability for this to happen. So I just don't think it's going to fly beyond our saying what we want to say, but we have a right to do that. So,
I mean, we can propose it and then someone can come back and pretty much say, no, it's.
I'm just wondering if there is a better phraseology, but at the moment, I can't think of it. I think Senator Hertzberg said it better earlier. There need to be better licensing of these people. And if there was better licensing, then they would not be there, because in some cases they won't apply, they won't achieve
Sure.
the license.
It's restrictive. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, Denitza, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Oscar. I just wanted to share that I don't know, I'm kind of against the whole or, you know, to eliminate in our area. I agree with kind of what Brian said, the better licensing. Maybe there are certain restrictions, or there's certain places that, you know, not in front of businesses that already exist. I mean, I've never bought from a street vendor just because you know, I don't know what health you know, what kind of health precautions they take, but you know, but I feel like it's better that they're working. You know, crime has increased, and so, you know, I'd prefer people to be working than committing crimes and trying to earn a living. But instead of completely prohibiting that, like, there's certain restrictions, certain areas, how large they are, maybe certain times of the day. That would just be my recommendation. Guidelines, licensing, and things like that.
Thank you, Denitza. Aaron, you've got the floor.
Yes, I think that they have their place. The concern is just what they are now and what they were intended to be. I think that's what the real issue is here. You know, you go to Calabasas and you don't see that. You know, you don't see sidewalks taken over and, you know, tables and chairs and open meat and all those kinds of things that we're seeing out there. It's hard to believe it's going on, but like the ones outside SoFi Stadium and places like that, they're awesome because they're not conflicting with any other businesses. But out here, it seems as though my late mom used to say, you give someone an inch and they take a mile. I do agree they should be working. Are they even Granada Hills residents to begin with, or did they come into our boundaries to do that? So I too have never purchased from a street vendor for the same reasons that Denitza said, but I just think that it's really gotten out of control. And if it doesn't stop somewhere, we are going to be overrun with like the things that people are emailing us about, the filth and the wild animals getting into it, and worse, most importantly, the businesses that have paid to be in business are. There was a letter from North Hills West Neighborhood Council actually of how badly the business has been impacted by the business. They're losing business to the street vendors. So my heart is just with our local businesses. That's where my heart is with, and that's really my own concern about it. So if maybe there's more regulations and mandatory size restrictions, that might be able to work it out. But you know, you go to Calabasas and you don't see it. So that's kind of the point there.
I'd like to say something.
Okay, Ralph, hold on. You're third. I'll keep you noted. So let's see, Sid, I think you had your hand up. Whose hand did I just lower? I'm sorry. Was it Alfredo?
Sid's.
It was Sid, right?
Yeah, he's muted.
Now I'm on. Thank you. A couple things. I thought we passed a couple resolutions at a previous board meeting about the sidewalk and trying to collect taxes and whatever. If my memory serves me correct me, I have no objection to this idea either. What I want to point out, this is not little guys out there on the corner. If you watch how it's all set up, there's a big truck that has all the equipment that puts them out, and it's run by one big company that it's like they're doing a franchise business. And the state has just passed a law that somebody working in a
fast food restaurant will have to make $25 an hour. And these people are not paying, I don't know what they're paying them, but if you watch what goes on, it's some business, they have uniforms now with their names on them and whatever. So it's not a small guy who's just coming trying to make some money. It's some business that's competing with other business without having to pass any laws or face any fines or anything. So I'm in favor of the motion as it stands. Thank
you. Elvin.
Yeah, I'll start with saying that I'm in favor of the motion, and you know the bottom line is, you know, I think if we take this too loosely, I mean, I can just simply say, if you wonder why certain businesses leave LA or leave California, well, this right here is a perfect example. I mean, kind of put yourself in place of the business owner. The business owner is going to be like, okay, you know, I'm paying all this money for my overhead expenses. I have to deal with all this red tape to get insurance. I have to do all of this, but these people are getting a free ride while I'm barely breaking even. Put yourself in the shoes of a business owner. How would that make you feel? And I think you would even ask yourself the question, what is my incentive to continue to do business here if I'm not being treated fairly? So, I mean, I'm in agreement that anyone who wants to go in business deserves a fair chance, but the bottom line is that the rules have to be followed. I mean, I see the way the food truck vendors are set up. It's neat, it's health compliant, it's not blocking a sidewalk. I mean, I see how it's done on construction sites, so I mean, I would honestly say there should really be no exceptions to these vendors. And my standpoint is it's in the interest of being fair.
Thank you, Alvin. Ralph, and then Robert, I'll come to you. Ralph, you've got the floor.
I have a comment. On Friday nights on Rinaldi, the street vendors are truck vendors, and they are required to have health systems where they have an agreement with a local business where they can use a bathroom or so and make sure their hands are clean and all that sort of stuff. The street vendors, the ones on the sidewalks, are the ones that I would be objecting to because there's really no control. Where the ones on the Granada Hills, Rinaldi, not Rinaldi, but Chatray, they are controlled. So how do we define that? That's one is a food truck and one is somebody that just sets up a tent, I guess.
Well, and that's why I would hope licensure would come in handy, right?
You know, to me, it's a health issue. The one that's set up in, let's say, in front of Target on Balboa, I have no idea what controls there are on those.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. Robert, you have the floor.
Yeah, while I mostly agree with the motion as it sits, maybe, I know we're not looking at everything because there are other things we're talking about. We're talking about, you know, paid businesses, brick and mortar restaurants losing business to street vendors. But there's also cause of traffic situations around these things, people parking around on the street where they're not supposed to be parking, or trying to turn into parking lots that don't belong to those street vendors as well. And they're taking away parking spaces from paying customers. Like Ralph brought up, the Target in particular, you get a lot of people that come into the Target parking lot. They park right up in the front of the parking lot. Patrons of the Target store, you know, they're not able to park there. They have to park farther away. Maybe we're taking parking away from somebody who has mobility issues or something along those lines. And then the other big thing for me is I've long been concerned about, as several people have mentioned the health concerns of these vendors. You know, they're not inspected, they're not licensed. We have no idea, you know, you don't know when these people that are cooking the food, if they're cooking it to proper temperatures, food storage is correct, if, you know, hand hygiene is correct. We don't know. And so there's, you know, so we've got traffic safety issues, we've got parking lot kind of trespassing issues, you've got public health issues. So yeah, I think as it stands until Department of Health Services or Public Health comes up with a program to license and inspect these folks, then it should stand as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. I do see various hands up. Graham, and then I will come to Mr. Fisk and Mr. or Miss Hales.
Yeah, I just want to tag off of what Robert said and what previous members have said, board members, that I've noticed all this going on as well. And, you know, we can make these statements, and I agree that we should, and I agree with this motion as it stands as well. But I also think that it's important to address some of the specific questions as far as enforcement. You know, we could send these statements to whoever, you know, and what Robert was saying, Board of Health or Health Services, or, you know, who's actually going to go out there and check these licenses or enforce the law on if, you know, they can be there or not. And, you know, for instance, just specifically in Millwood Plaza, that Wetzel's Pretzels truck, who is a truck that comes out, is there with the other vendor sometimes, you know, and is the owner of that plaza aware of this? And I'm pretty sure they are at this point, because it seems like there's cones blocked off in the back of the lot there that like is reserved for them basically. So I don't know if he's allowing them this to happen and they're paying them off. I mean, there's all these questions and getting down to the specifics of how this will be enforced and who's going to do it and who's aware of it, including the owner of the parking lot and the owner of, you know, that plaza there, of the other, you know, the merchants that are in the brick and mortar stores. So I think there's a lot more, you know, in-depth sort of questions and things that we need to find out and address, because I kind of feel like this has been going on for a while, and that nothing's really going to happen until, you know, we start actually contacting specific departments or people to, you know, enforce this or address it somehow. So, I mean, that's just my kind of 2 cents on this issue, but I'm in support of it.
Thank you, Graham. And let's see, Mr. Fisk, Richard, is that you?
That would be me.
Thank you, sir.
Brian Allen at the start of this conversation is mostly right, correct. A little bit of history. There is already laws on the books for these type of street vendors. It was put in many years ago. Mitch Englander was still in office. In fact, he did a survey of all the organizations up here in his district, CD12, and we overwhelmingly said we don't want them in our area. When it went back to City Hall, they said we couldn't do that, and the law was passed. Right now, it's on the books that technically you have to have 3 different licenses: a health permit, a business license, and if you have chairs and tables sitting around, you have to charge sales tax, which require a license from the State Board of Equalization. Last time I looked at the numbers, I think there was over 10,000 food trucks that this would apply to. I mean, food vendors, excuse me, that this would apply to. And at that time, I think only there was less than 75 or even less than that licenses out there. The city council has since put like maybe a moratorium off for any kind of enforcement, and they're trying to make it change the law so it's less onerous to the food vendors. Even like they said, the health permit, temperatures of food, now they're trying to loosen that up so more street vendors would be legalized. So there's already laws on the books. They're not being enforced, and the city's not even trying to enforce them.
Well, does the city become liable then if it's a problem?
If someone sues about it,
Wow. I'm a taxpayer.
Thank you for that input, Richard. It is rather concerning then if there's laws there, and unfortunately enforcement's a big problem, right? Resource wise. But if they're trying to make these laws lighter, that's concerning. So Mr. or is it Mr. or Mrs. Hales?
This time it's Mr. Hales.
Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you, thank you. About,
Uh-oh, I'm sorry. I think I muted you. Please unmute yourself, Mr. Hales.
wow, I thought only my wife did that. Okay.
Got another husband, Oscar.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. About 3 years ago, I stopped a police officer up in Granada Hills that happened to be standing out, finished writing a ticket. So I stopped him and asked him about the traffic to these people on the streets in front of the restaurants, etc. And I asked him, how come you don't go write them a ticket? Just out of curiosity. And the response was, I'm sorry, I can't touch them. And I said, what do you mean you can't touch them? He says, no, there's an edict from the mayor's office to leave these folks alone. And my question to him, and since then it's been a dozen other people, including building inspection, et cetera, same thing. There's an edict from the mayor's office to leave these people alone. We can't bother them. If they block the sidewalk, geez, that's too bad. So you're right. Everybody that has mentioned this, the key to this is the laws are already there. It's the enforcement. How do we get enforcement to actually perform? After our short, almost 2 years with COVID, all of a sudden these people came back in massive groves. And somebody also mentioned there are 3 buildings that process these mobile carts. And you can see them unattended. And what they do is they stock them every day. Then they come in there and pick them up, whether it be by truck or they wheel it out themselves. So it is a larger corporation. I call it a corporation, but a large business, and they're not local. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hale. Alfredo, you have the floor.
Yeah, can I second to approve the motion?
What's that?
Can we vote on this? I think everybody has talked already.
A second.
Okay, so quick closure on this. Okay. There was a second for that. Thank you, sir. So let's move forward. Take a vote. On item 4, discussion and motion for GHNC to request Councilmember John Lee to amend the Granada Hills specific plan to prohibit street vending businesses within its boundaries. Okay. Those opposed, state your name.
I'm opposed.
Fredo Castillo. Any others? State your name. I hear none.
So that's 12 yeses, yes?
What's that?
That's 12 yeses, right?
No, not yet. Abstentions?
I'm abstaining, Denitza.
Denise Pantoja. Any others? I'm going to abstain, so that's 2. Those in favor then would be 10. Assuming we still have 13 present, right? Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so that motion passes.
We got 3 abstaining, yes?
We have 1 opposed, 2 abstentions.
Yes. Okay, got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Next item.
Item 5, discussion motion for GHNNC to request Councilmember John Lee open a council file to review and propose solutions to reduce and eliminate the plethora of fraud calls and emails that we are all suffering with on a daily basis, and what can or should be done to protect the public. Okay, Mr. Allen, you have the floor.
Thanks. I'll try to make it as short as possible, but this particular issue, and I'm the one that brought it, is extremely annoying to me, and it has been growing over the last years. I don't know how many people on this call, in this Zoom meeting, are suffering with the same thing, but I'll bet you that to a person, everyone would say, I don't answer the phone as much as I used to. And the reason for that is they know that they're getting phone calls that they don't want. These phone calls are extremely annoying because for a person like me who's retired and sitting at home a lot of the time doing other business, I answer the phone because I don't know who it is. And it could be somebody that I need to talk to. So I answer the phone 20, 25 times a day and find that it's fraud calls. It's people from overseas using VoIP to call people in the United States to try and steal from them. We as a society, in my opinion, need to do something about this. We need to rise up and say hell no and get the government authorities to start talking with the phone companies and the internet companies to stop this proliferation of fraud on the American public. That's how I feel. That's what I think is going to have to happen. And I would love to hear from somebody that says, no, I don't have any issues. But I don't think anybody's going to tell me that. That's why I brought this.
Thank you, Brian. Robert, you have the floor.
Yeah, hi. You know, this issue, the FCC actually put down on all the phone carriers and that the deadline is passed for them to put up protections for us against these fraud calls, robo-dialers, things like that. I don't know what the city council or John Lee can do for us on this if the FCC is not doing their part. I mean, they're not pushing the carriers to deal with the problem like there should have been. So thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
I have a comment.
Alfredo, hold on, I'm Ralph.
Yes, you know, I'm actually in sales, and oftentimes I do call people, and when I actually do make what's called cold calls, I actually have to pay a service that will scrub my calls to make sure that they are not on the do not call list. So that is a great service that we can utilize for specifically this kind of thing. If you're getting too many calls, put your phone number on that, and that will alleviate some of the problems, because not everybody, I mean, if it's from outside the country, they won't follow that guideline. What I've done lately, and I have thousands of blocked calls, is you have a feature on your phone that you can block calls as they come through, because you already know. And also we're getting what's called suspected spam notifications on our smartphones. I think everybody has a smartphone nowadays. But yeah, I don't see how John Lee is going to be able to make something that, you know, the FCC has already put things in place for us to actually help us. But maybe we can, and you know, we should go through with this.
Thank you, sir. Ralph?
Yeah, I'm just commenting. My computer's telling me I only have 5% power left, so I might be dropping out very soon.
Okay. Sid, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, what we have to do is, we can't do anything, it's a federal issue, but we could ask John Lee to introduce a motion to, I believe there is a law in Congress right now trying to address this, to have the city council make a motion supporting whatever legislation there is. So we could write the letter to John saying that he should introduce legislation at City Hall to work with the federal government. I don't know the exact number that's in the Congress right now, but I know it's been introduced to do something about these calls. I think that would be the way to go.
I second.
Thank you, sir. Karen?
Well, Sid said what I was going to say, so I don't have anything.
Okay.
And didn't Ralph say a second?
Thank you.
I hear a
Brian?
second. Are we approving this already?
Yeah. the only thing I want to respond to is, and Alfredo's correct, everybody's correct at what they see and what they hear. I've talked with the FCC, I've talked with the phone companies, I've gotten very high up in a couple of the phone companies. They all claim that they're trying to do something about it. I appreciate the fact that they're claiming it, but there's also an economic issue here for all of them because they're making money on these calls. Regardless of whether we are answering the calls, the fact that the call is placed, they're making money. My concern is simply to put pressure on anybody and everybody to follow this through. I agree with Sid that there's other ways of approaching it and questions to follow through with, but unless the public starts getting angry and doing something, nothing will happen. And it will hurt all of us because every friend I have tells me they do not answer the phone anymore. That's not a good thing. And I don't know if anybody knows, but there's something else going on with the phone companies in that when you make a phone call, there are times where the phone will come back with a recorded message saying, please enter your phone number and area code and phone number. And then it asks you for your passcode and the call doesn't go through. We're used to getting a busy signal when a call is busy, but you don't get that all the time anymore. So there's something else going on as well. And with regards to what Alfredo was saying, the do not call list, it's a joke. Not because it's not real, because all of my numbers are on the do not call list and have been for years. I still get 25 calls a day. And you get them from not only from overseas, but you get them from contractors who happen to find your number because they're in the area. Ask them if they check the do not call list and they'll tell you who checks that. They don't care. People don't care about checking a call list because the same reason that all the other issues that we're dealing with, there is no enforcement from anybody. So I'm only saying that we need, in my opinion, we need to rise up and it starts somewhere. So at this point, it's starting with me. That's all.
Okay, let's put closure to this if we can. It's already 9:02, so we can move forward. But I agree. So what we're hoping to do here is at least bring this to the forefront, whether action can be done or not, but at least we're raising that, hopefully that awareness to our representative.
Can we add that it should be called the Brian Allen bill?
Yes. All right, so let's move forward then and take a vote on this. I like that. Okay, so
This is item 6, right?
I'm sorry, Ralph?
This is item 6, right?
Item 5, right?
5, sir. Yes, 5.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so any opposed, state your name.
Robert Moore.
Any others? Okay, any abstentions, state your name. I hear none. All right, so therefore, those in favor would be 12. This motion passes.
So there was 1 no and 12 yeses?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Item 6, discussion motion to support GHNNC CIS for Council File 22-0560. Support of the Council File requires full transparency for lobbyists to disclose when they make oral presentations to neighborhood councils during all public comment segments at neighborhood council meetings related to their efforts. Currently, lobbyists have only been required to provide written communications to neighborhood councils. So this is, I think, a good idea, great idea. This is why at the beginning of the agenda, for now, we put that on the agenda, and I will keep putting that on the agendas moving forward until there is such a thing required. So, Sid, you have the floor.
No, I'm in favor of the motion. I think we passed something similar in another board meeting too.
I second it.
And so I'm in favor of it. I think we can It's a little different from the one we passed before, and any way we can get the lobbyists to identify themselves, I'm in favor.
I second it.
Thank you.
Close.
Mark.
Okay, so Alfredo seconds that.
It came from executive. It doesn't need a second.
So, but let me just, we have a constituent and I want to give that person an opportunity to weigh in.
Sure.
So is that
Yeah,
Jamie York?
I knew it'd be Jamie.
Jamie.
Uh-oh, sorry. Unmute yourself, please. I think there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, thanks for agendizing this. And yes, of course it's me. It's like my baby of an issue. So thank you for supporting. I would also love it if you would consider the possibility of taking support if amended. Just because there's two things that I'm seeking to change. One is having this lobbyist disclosure also happen at city council and committee. That's in line with what a lot of other municipalities in California already require, such as like Beverly Hills, Long Beach, the Fair Political Practices Commission. It's a thing that already exists. And I think that it would not only benefit the public, but it would benefit us as NC members, because I watch those YouTubes and you don't know if someone is a lobbyist unless they state it, which they typically don't, until the speaker cards get posted a couple days later. I think that we should have that transparency in the immediate, and I don't think it's a big thing to ask for. The second thing is a little bit more wonky, but it's important, and here's why. Right now they're proposing a nonprofit exemption of 2 million. I'd like to see it lowered to 200,000 in revenue or 500,000 in assets. That aligns with what the San Francisco ethics ordinance currently is. And the reason why this is important is because we're trying to avoid loopholes that lobbyists have used to avoid registration. If we lower it down, it'll help capture that and keep lobbyists from using nonprofit vehicles to do lobbying. But two, it also allows the public to like be able to track the work that nonprofits are doing related to lobbying if their spending is that high. And this is so important because we've all seen, like in redistricting, for example, where nonprofits got very involved. I think that the public deserves the ability to be able to track that activity just as they would when a lobbyist does any other filing. So it's just in the interest of transparency, but that 2 million essentially means almost everyone would be exempt in terms of nonprofit. So trying to get that lower so that we can sort of prevent a predictable loophole from happening, because the current MLO suggestions close a whole bunch of loopholes that have been exploited for since 1994 by lobbyists, but why leave one on the table if we don't have to? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. York. Appreciate that. Let's see, we have one more. Okay, I didn't lower your hand. Brian?
Yeah, I don't understand why there is a dollar limit to start with. If you are a paid lobbyist, you should have to disclose that regardless of whether your firm is making $5 or 5 million. It doesn't matter one bit, and I can't come up with a reason why there is a difference. So in my opinion, I would go all the way and say any paid lobbyist has to disclose, regardless of how much that firm is generating or anyone is generating.
Okay, thank you, sir. Alvin?
Yeah, I have to echo what Brian says because, you know, because I would say at 200,000, I mean, you're still giving a lobbyist, kind of an opportunity and a way in to, use various loopholes. So I'm in agreement with that.
Okay, thank you. So for the sake of time then, because it is 9:10.
Can we vote on it now?
What's that?
Can we vote on it?
Yes, let's move forward. And if there's any other change to this or an amendment or something that needs to be done, let's take it to committee so that we can go from there, so that we can move forward with this item. Okay. Sid? Yes, sir.
Oh, We have not amended, there was a suggestion for amendment. We haven't amended it. I
No.
would amend it to add committees to the list. However, I'm with Brian that there should be no loophole for, there should be all smoke. There should be no pass for any nonprofit. So
No
I
one seconded
just
that
want to
motion.
amend for the committees. But for the other one, I'm not in favor of that. So I'm moving that as an amendment.
What are you moving as an amendment, Sid?
And one amendment was to add the Los Angeles City Council committees as part of, they would have to give a disclaimer if they were lobbyists, if they're testifying at a committee meeting.
Okay, so
I'm gonna be writing this CIS, so it's going to be the committees and no dollar amount?
That would be my amendment. Okay, that's
Okay, so city council and committees and no dollar amount.
no dollar threshold.
Okay.
I'll second that amendment.
Okay.
Explain it to me how you're writing it, because I've lost.
Discussion motion, so maybe just add to the end of it, correct me if I'm wrong, Karen or anyone.
Okay.
Should be Sid, he proposed it. How should it read, Sid?
Sid? Sid, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, could you please read the your amendment to the motion?
My amendment was there were a list of areas where they had to be identify themselves, and I said to add, I believe that what Jamie was mentioning were LA City Council committee meetings, to add that. And just to add, there be no dollar amounts or restriction, be it profit or nonprofit lobbyists.
Okay.
Just saying no exemption for dollars.
No exemption. Okay. Got it.
That's another motion here. What's going on? Another amendment?
And I'll second Sid's amendment.
So can someone state what that amendment is so it's clear to everybody?
Okay, so we have
so would it be safe to say that it's everything that is on item 6 and at the tail end, just to add including all LA City committees?
I heard that.
Yeah.
And there will be no dollar threshold, or there will be no exemption for dollar thresholds.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so the amendment would be discussion motion to support GHNNC CIS for Council File 22-0560. Support of the Council File requires full transparency for lobbyists to disclose when they make oral presentations to neighborhood councils during all public comment segments at neighborhood council meetings related to their efforts. Currently, lobbyists have only been required to provide written communications to neighborhood councils. This would also include all LA City Council committees, and there would be no exemption as to a dollar amount.
Right.
So that's how we would be writing this. Okay. So that is the amendment. So we have to vote on that. So any opposed to that amendment, state your name. I hear none. Any abstentions, state your name. I hear none. Therefore, the amendment passes by a vote of, let me see here, 12, because it looks like Ralph Croy has dropped off.
Ralph lost his power. He just called me.
Okay, so that would be 12. Please make note that Ralph Croy left the meeting early. All right, so now that was to vote on the amendment. So now we're going to vote on the actual motion. Right? Do I need to repeat it? Are we okay if we move forward?
Let's go.
I'd
So
say
let's
move forward.
Let's move forward with the vote of that motion. Any opposed to that motion, please state your name. I hear none. Any abstentions, please state your name. I hear none. That Item passes with 12 votes. All righty. Moving on, let's move on to item 7. This did come up in earlier discussion. Discussion motion to approve letter from the GHNNC board to Councilmember Lee to approve an amount up to $800,000 for public works erosion repairs on the east side of Balboa between Midwood and Norwood Country Club. Parking lot to be paid from the Sunshine Canyon Amenities Fund. The sidewalk has been blocked for over a year. The repairs must be completed. Pedestrians are forced to walk in the street around the sidewalk closure, which is dangerous and could result in serious injuries or fatalities. Okay, the repairs must be completed as soon as possible. All right, it's open for discussion. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think we all know what's going on over there, and there is a need to get that thing fixed. Other concerns that concerns that have been raised too are that the dividers or that are on the sidewalk, right, the markers, also hinder drivers from the ability to see to the south of Balboa for anyone who wants to make a left onto Balboa from Norwood. So that also is posing a visibility problem. Brian, you have the floor.
Yeah, real quickly, the fact is, if we give this to John, and I know Merck is still here, so he'll hear this. The fact is, he'll get real active at trying to get somebody to fix that, because I know he doesn't want to use the amenity funds. I've talked to him about them already, and there's some issues that he has with them. So he will be moving fast to try and get this done. So
Good.
Well, when this came up, Matt Biasia, before he left, said that, it was $795,000 and they didn't know where they're going to get the money. And I said, take it from the amenities fund if you can't figure it out, because that's our boundaries. And so that's how
we're the one NC that's supposed to have an answer as to how much money is in there. And we're supposed to have a voice in the spending of that, which has not happened, does not happen. And it's one of the best kept secrets in the world, and it's wrong. We should be involved in that, and we should know. But I'm currently under the impression that there isn't a lot of money there. But then we can't tell you, nobody can tell you where it went. So I don't know, but I like this motion regardless.
Right. Well, and I want to just give full a note to make mention that it was Graham Zach who mentioned this in closing remarks at the outreach meeting for status of that. So thank you, Graham.
All right. Any other comments on this? Okay. The only other thing, actually, yes, Alfredo, we'll close this off, but for Marcus, since you still are on the call, I do want to also bring to your attention, and I have not had a chance to follow up with you or anyone in John's office, and that is the project on Rinaldi, that sidewalk repairs where it was tree removals. This thing was earmarked, what, a year and a half, if not 2 years ago, and that project is still not completed. So we also need to address that. Not sure what's holding it up. I know the trees have been removed, but the sidewalks are still dilapidated. I'm sure the residents were expecting quicker action. But anyway, so if you can give me an update on that as well, that would be great. Elvin.
Oscar, I'm sorry, off of what streets did you say those repairs were?
On Rinaldi, just across the street from the power location right there on Rinaldi. And I think I almost want to say Gothic.
Okay, all right.
No, Gothic's too far down. It would be.
They removed the trees that were causing the problem, but everything's still there. And that project should have been completed, quite frankly. So, all right. So let's move on then with this item, take a position. Item 7, any opposed, please state your name. I hear none. Any abstentions, state your name. I hear none. Therefore, this motion passes with 12 present board members. Okay.
7 or 12?
12, sorry. I meant to say 12. My bad.
7?
No, it should be 12.
Should be 12 passes, right? 12 yes?
Yes. I just want to see if you're paying attention.
I guess I'm not. I guess I need a better hearing
It's
aid.
9:20. I'm like, is he still awake?
I'm getting a better hearing aid for next meeting.
If he'd shaved more, he'd be able to hear
12.
better.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes. All right. So 12 yeses.
It's just that you played on words when you said 7 of 12. So
I know. Again, I want to see if you were paying attention. Good job.
Thanks.
All right. Let's move on then to treasurer report. All right. Thank you, Brian. And we're done. Moving on.
All right,
to-
very
Okay, go ahead.
quickly, very quickly. The agenda was misprinted. It's July and August, not August and September. August and September are the months in which the July and August MERs are available. So we're talking about the July MER and the August MER. They were sent out to everybody. Do you have them handy?
So let's take a vote then to amend this item because it does say August 2022 and September. So I kind of thought it was weird that you sent July and August, but because remember we had discussed September, the possibility that it would be done because it is day 6 now.
Yeah, and I was able to pull it yesterday on the 5th.
Okay, so which ones do we have? The July?
We have July and August.
August. Okay, I thought we had already done July, but okay, let me. Lord have mercy, man. This. Oh, you.
And it's
people-
only 9:30, man.
You're killing me. I know it's way past my bedtime.
Unless anybody has consternation on this, there was very little spent. I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry, I don't.
So who's
Hold on,
motioning
no,
to?
I'm gonna share the screen. Hold on, give me a moment.
Who's the motion to correct the August and July and September? Do we
Okay,
need to
there's
vote on that?
there's a motion. I'll make a motion to amend the motion to approve MERs from August and September to July and August.
Second.
Okay, second motion. Okay. All right. So any opposed, state your name. Hear none. Any abstentions, state your name. Hear none. Okay, so that amended motion passes with 12. Okay.
Oh, now you're getting good at it.
All right. So that's
Now-
that. Okay. So now we can move forward and let me share my screen. Come on. This is not that difficult, Oscar.
We spent so much money over the last 2 months. It's just amazing.
I'm going to start with the July. Can everyone see that?
Good. Yes.
Okay. Let me know if you want me, when you want me to scroll down, Brian.
Well, you went as far as you need to go. We spent $200. That was for our storage.
Okay. There you go.
Big spender.
Big spenders, yes.
All right. Everyone need any more viewing on this
Any
one?
questions?
All right. Shall we take a vote on this one?
Yeah, let's do that.
Or do you wanna
My
go
vote
through-
is yes.
Okay.
Karen,
Yes.
Sid,
Yes.
Oscar,
Yes.
Raheem,
Yes.
Alfredo,
Yes.
Ralph's not there. Denitza,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Alvin,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
and Graham,
Yes.
and Robert.
Yes.
There you go. 12, unanimous. Go
Brian,
on.
may I slide in a question that I just realized? What happened to, it's supposed to be $42,000, isn't it? What
Not
happened
yet,
to-
not yet. They
Oh.
have not authorized the other $10,000 yet. And by the way, you brought this up, so I'll explain it. The
Thank you,
statement was
Karen.
made, the
Thanks,
statement was
Karen.
made that another NC got in trouble for their processing because they had a $42,000 in their administrative packet. And therefore they couldn't put it in and they needed to change that. I don't remember if that was John Hale that brought that up or what. But the fact is, we can put together a packet with 42,000 in it and we can upload that. And that is been approved by NC funding. However, you can't put the $10,000 in until they put it there. So it's a real comedy of errors. They're already 30 days behind in approving the $10,000 for anybody. So it's just it's really sad. NC funding is screwing up. All right, going on.
All right,
August.
moving on to August. You should see it on my screen now. $410, that's all we spent?
$210. You know why?
Wait, is it 200 or 400? Oh, got it. Unspent budget balance. Gotcha.
$210. The reason it's 210 and not 200 is because they increased our price. Ironically, I anticipated this, didn't know it for sure, but I anticipated, so the administrative packet has that much money available for each month. So that's what we spent.
All righty. Any questions?
I should also let everybody know that the reason that we haven't spent any more money is because we're limited to $333 until the administrative packet was uploaded per month. All right, no questions?
Let's go. Vote.
Let's do it. Get it over with. Me, yes. Karen,
Yes.
Sid,
Yes.
Oscar,
Yes.
Raheem,
Yes.
Alfredo,
Yes.
Danitza,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Alvin,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
and Robert.
And yes.
Another unanimous 12. Thank you very much. That's out of the way. As far as the CAG goes, there's no new news on the CAG. One of the reasons that I was talking to Senator Hertzberg today is because we're trying to move forward even without the CAG. Budget Advocates had a retreat. I wouldn't say that it was very aggressive retreat, and it wasn't very long, but it was a proper retreat. People did learn things, and we're moving forward as budget advocates. So there is a lot less consternation and dissension in the budget advocates this year than there has been in the last 2 years. So that's a good thing. So hopefully we will be moving forward a lot better. And there is a new thinking on how to do the job, and it hasn't been hashed out yet, but I think there will be some changes in the way we have meetings with departments. Other than that, everything stays the same with the budget advocates. Any questions?
Yes, Mr. C, do you have the floor?
Thank you. At the LANC meeting, it came up that Animal Services gave out this $1 million contract to a company. And I was wondering whether the budget advocates looked at outside contracting. And I suggested, even though it's sort of in the budget total, that they should be looking at all outside contracting done by any of the departments, because people were talking the $1 million contract seemed very high for what was being delivered. So outside contracts, I thought, should be looked at by the budget advocates as well.
I appreciate the comment, and I will take it back to the budget advocates. I have to agree with you that things like that should be looked at. A lot of times we are not informed of it in a timely fashion. We do know that animal services is a problem, and we are trying to address animal services, but we don't have say. We only have, the same as the council here has a advisory role to the city council. We have only the ability to make recommendations. But yes, I agree with you, and I will bring it back to the budget advocates, and we'll take a look and see what we can say. Thank you.
We good?
Well, I'm good.
All right. Thank you, Brian. All right. And moving on to Plum. All right. So there was no Plum committee this month, but there are some updates, and just Karen, help me out with this if I missed something, but the two big things right now are the SoCal Gas Company. They are doing their work on Balboa and Woodley.
Westbury? Is it Westbury or Woodley, Brian?
No, it's Woodbury, believe me, and I'm right there at it.
Oh, it's Woodbury?
Westbury. It's a Westbury, not Woodbury.
No, it's not. It's Woodbury. Woodley, sorry.
Okay, you guys.
Anyway, so they're gonna be doing their project. They have notified the residents, I think, within 1,000 feet of,
2,000 feet radius of the project.
We don't know, because they don't tell us.
Well,
don't
we
know
received an email from Ben Steinberger, that they they already sent the notification to those within 2,000 feet radius of the project. And so everyone's been informed, and they did a good job with that, so. they
Well,
can move ahead.
I'll be surprised if they actually did, but okay.
Did you check your mail, Brian? Do you have a notice?
Oh, I have it. I have the
Oh.
notice. That's why I say it's starting September 12th. And
Yes.
for 2 months, there will be no left turn during the day off of Woodley onto Balboa.
Right,
between 9 and 3.
right.
Yeah.
So that means you'll have to go south to Rinaldi, and that's the way you'll have to go around.
Well, no, you don't have to go all the way south to Rinaldi. You can go down there. We can take a shortcut through Knollwood. So
Oh, that's true too.
All right.
Okay.
it's
All right.
possible to get
And-
down there. It's just inconvenient. That's all.
And the other item that came up as we, discussions have been re-engaged with Morningstar and Confluent regarding the proposed project on the corner of Rinaldi and Shoshone, the senior living residential. So those discussions have started again. It's going through committee right now.
And where we have it, we did see the new renderings. They are beautiful. So we have seen the renderings. So now the process, as per the best practices, our Plum best practices, is they have been notified of the information that's required in order for us to go forward to bring it to the board and community outreach in the board. So the ball is in their court, and we will hear from them when all of that is ready. And but definitely architecturally, it is definitely
I think we
better than-
probably ought to make the statement here that while we know that the Morningstar people are currently still on this meeting,
Right.
the fact is, this was not an agendized item and cannot
No.
be discussed. So
No,
Correct.
just a report for point of clarification for the board. The executive committee does, per our bylaws, can oversee Plum matters if the Plum committee cannot do it. So that is what took place.
Okay.
And we'll
So,
move on to.
Thank you with that. So let's move on to emergency preparedness. There's nothing there. I don't think Robert is there. I'm sorry, I shouldn't assume.
There is no meeting, but just announcement. September is Emergency Preparedness Month. So ready.gov gives you the checklists and whatnot. The theme for this year, for 2022, is a lasting legacy. And basically they're saying the life you built is worth protecting. Prepare for disasters, create a lasting legacy for you and your family. And I take that as if you have not prepared, if you have not set up your disaster kit or go kits, especially for those of you in fire areas, then you should take this month to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, citywide issues committee report. Sid,
Yeah, I had some problem. We didn't have a meeting, but a couple of announcements that I want to make that I'm on the programming committee for the upcoming Congress of Neighborhood Councils, which is meeting on the 24th of September. The registration is out there, and we have some interesting areas. The chief of police and the chief of the fire department are going to have an open discussion. One of the meetings, there's going to be discussions on homeless. The city attorney is going to be making a presentation on various ethics things. So it's a well done program. So it's important to register, get your name in there. And the other thing, I sent out a link to the blank questionnaire. I made an error. I apologize. I should have said to fill it out if you hadn't filled it out before. We're not looking for people to do it again. It's there was a great Liz Atkinson put together a great presentation. She got way more responses than I ever thought that they would get. Over 100 over 400 responses. from all the neighborhood councils in the city. And we got some preliminary raw data. And so that's why we wanted a little more information from other people. And at the next LANC meeting, there'll be a presentation of all the results of that questionnaire. Thank you.
Thank you, Sid. All right, outreach and publicity. Ms. Waters.
Thank you. Well, we'll start with congratulations to Mr. Jason Lester, who was appointed the co-chair of the Outreach and Publicity Committee. So congratulations to him. And we will be, I'm happy to have a co-chair, and it's a pleasure to work with him.
Thank you. Happy to be there in the co-chair.
Thank you, Jason.
Not in the big chair, in the co-chair.
Thank you, Jason. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, and so we'll move quickly through these. First is discussion, review, and motion to approve up to $5,000 for new GHNNC giveaways for community events. We did review, Brian reviewed the current inventory in our storage, which is very, very low. So the items that would be included in this number are a reorder of the current bags and items that we currently have, the flashlights and all of those items, as well as we will be adding a prize wheel and some t-shirts. And we also welcome suggestions from the board if you have anything else, but it's a reorder and some addition of some items, which we saw at actually Puerto Ranch had some nice things. So we want to get some of those. And any questions?
I guess I'm the only one again. Sorry about that. I would like to amend this for one thing, and I'm sorry, Karen, if it's not in your desire, but because we only have a dollar amount and we do not have anything to share with the board in terms of specifics, I would like to suggest that we amend this to say that we approve this based on final review of a proposed purchase list of items, so that the board has the ability to understand exactly what they're buying, as opposed to an assumption of maybe it's shirts, maybe it's pens, maybe it's bags, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I don't want to leave the board without the ability to understand what they are spending money on.
True. Although we are going to move, we need to make sure we do this so that we have enough time to order and have those items in stock.
Exactly.
Given
But-
supply chain issues.
But my amendment is to do that in hopes of allowing the board to see this by email, because it's going to be a lot of work for me to try and get this information together.
That's okay. I'm going to come over and help you out, Brian.
There you go.
Okay.
So that would be my motion to approve this pending review by the board of the details of the purchases. That's all.
Okay, second that.
Do we have further discussion on this?
Right now.
Alvin?
I was just gonna say, Brian, I'm happy to help if you need a hand, since I'm a newly elected financial officer.
Here you go.
All right.
How about I turn it over to you?
There you go.
Not all of it, but just wherever I can help.
Okay, so now we have to vote on, is there any more discussion, or do we want to move forward and vote on the amendment?
Well, the question, and that's the reason I'm
Yes, sir.
asking that discussion is because, Karen, are we running that low? Do we have any events that coming up in the next 30 days that we need, or?
Well, the street fair is October 22nd.
That's true. If we wait till next.
Yeah, we'd have to move quickly.
Because
have to move quickly, so.
Because supply chain, given the supply chain issues and delays and things like that, we would want to have enough time to make the order and allow for shipping.
Okay, so personally, the reason why I'm saying this is because when it comes to things of giveaways, it's almost the same thing as operational costs. We're not buying
Yes.
to give to an outside party. I don't necessarily think we need an itemized situation right now as to 10,000 pens and 5,000 bags. I think we just need to approve it as is.
Yes. Okay. All right. Any more discussion on that?
So I just want to be
So no
understand.
one's
So-
seconding, did someone second Brian's suggestion?
I did because we could still move forward with it, but just will
Right, for transparency
provide an
purposes.
itemized list for transparency. 'Cause
Yes.
we don't have anything to hide. Everyone pretty much knows what the items are. And we're
No,
just-
but we should definitely, I agree, we should
Yes.
definitely run it by the board, or at least at least provide information as to what it's gonna do.
There are NCs right now being criticized for doing up tos for various items and no definition and no description, no details. I don't want to put us in that bucket. That's the only reason I do this. It's not that I don't trust or believe, and I'm the one that's going to be doing a lot of it. So I just want to make sure that we aren't putting ourselves behind the 8 ball inadvertently. That's all.
The more transparency, the better.
Makes sense, absolutely, I agree.
Okay,
Thank
let's
you.
go.
I was just
Brian?
questioning because we hadn't had enough discussion on what we're gonna spend this money on. That's the only reason I'm asking. We need to discuss it a little bit more, but if you're seconding that, the motion is to read what, that we need to see an itemized.
So,
what is it that we're
we
waiting for?
approve the amount, but we will forward an itemized list of those, of the details of those.
We need to vote on that motion, on that amendment first, don't we?
Yes.
Yes, so what's that
That's what we're
amendment?
gonna do.
What's
So
that
the
motion?
amendment is to,
What's the amendment, Brian?
subject to final review and approval by the board.
Right. Subject to final review and by the board. That's all.
So
Of the details.
Subject to final review of the.
Itemized list.
Details, itemized details.
Thank you.
Now,
I
This
only went to
doesn't,
third
this
grade.
doesn't, the amendment doesn't require a roll call. So Oscar, you can do that quickly.
it doesn't require a roll call?
Not for the amendment.
Not the amendment, no, the actual motion, yes. So, votes,
But I do believe we have to vote on the amendment.
yes, yes.
We have to vote for that first, and then we have to vote on it yet again.
Right, so we do.
So we're voting on the amendment, correct?
Right,
correct.
Everyone understand? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So any opposed to the amended motion, state your name. I hear none. Any abstentions, state your name. I hear none. This motion passes with 12 present board members. The amendment. So now we're gonna vote on the actual motion.
Correct.
Okay?
As amended.
As amended.
As amendment.
Okay.
Is there any discussion before we vote? Don't hear any. Well, let's move forward.
Move
I
on.
vote
Okay.
yes.
Any opposed,
No.
state your name.
No, this has to be.
Oh,
a-
you're right. You're right. Thank you. BAC. Thank you, Brian.
Karen,
Yes.
Sid,
Yes.
Oscar,
Yes.
Raheem,
Yes.
Alfredo,
Yes.
Denitza,
Sorry, yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Alvin,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Very good. We're done with that one.
Okay, thank you.
Karen?
Okay, next one. Thank you, everyone. Next one, discussion and motion to approve up to $2,500 for GHNNC mailers and mailing services for various community outreach. And where this would be used is as projects come up or other matters where we need to notify the community. These funds will be available if we need to do mailers for, let's say, for a plum or any project. We will have, according to the city attorney, we will have a special meeting agenda, which will be then mailed to homes in what area may be impacted. So we would use mailing services instead of that old boots on the ground going door to door. The city attorney told us not to do that. So we would be using mailing services. So that is what this is for. Any questions?
Open for discussion. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, it's a little open, it's a little too open, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Non-specific, we're spending money on non-specific things. We always kind of write it for a cause.
Well, because in this case, Alfredo, we had an outreach last year where, we don't have the funds, then we can't get it's going to be in a flyer format, but it will be an agenda which would be mailed. So it's a standard, like you see realtors do it all the time, where they have, it was Carrie Eckert who I contacted for the mailing list. So,
What we're doing is approving the method to distribute flyers or surveys or whatever we're going to do in the future. However, those flyers or surveys or whatever will still have to be approved by the board. So
right.
This is not it's not a carte blanche to spend money. It's a opportunity to provide the funds as a budget for if they're going to be used, if we need to use them to get these documents out. That's all.
Right. But for the agendas, just for point of clarification, but as the city attorney advised us last year, when we need to reach out to the public for a specific item, we are to prepare a special meeting agenda. You know, Oscar would assign the Zoom number in advance, and that's what would be mailed. We can't mail flyers and surveys. They absolutely don't want us doing those surveys anymore. Some of you know how that turned out. So this is just a cleaner way of doing it by taking those mailers, taking those agendas, special meeting agenda, and sending them to the those in proximity, about 500 feet radius of a project.
So right now, our agendas are being hand delivered to 500 people right now?
We have in the
had
past.
a survey last year. Well, as you recall, we had a situation with a project,
Yes.
where a survey was done, and the city attorney absolutely
Yes.
said we are not
Yes.
to do that again
Yes.
for the issues that it created. They want this way, it's cleaner, and it's in the announcement of a meeting to invite the public to attend.
What issues did, oh, sorry, I that's another subject, 'cause that's somewhat sort of a censorship. If we want to go ahead and hand deliver it, what's the big
No,
deal?
safety more than anything. Okay.
It's a variety of issues, but
The hand
mailing it-
delivering is a safety issue. The issue of a survey, I would, once we get to some question like that, I would place a lot of argument on that, because I don't think that the city attorney or anyone can change the statement that the NC is responsible for outreach to the community. And as such, we have the right to communicate with the community. And for them to shut us down and disenfranchise people from communicating would be wrong. And I would go to great lengths to argue with them on that one.
Well, I don't think we have to get into that here, but just for the purposes of clarification for the board is that this is how we are going to mail instead of walking to, just for so many reasons. So this
Right.
is how we would get that information into the hands of the public.
Does that answer all the questions? I hope.
Shall we vote?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Okay, we're voting. Me, yes. Karen,
Yes?
Sid,
Yes.
Oscar,
Yes.
Rahim,
Yes.
Alfredo,
Yes.
Danitza,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Alvin,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Again, another unanimous. Nobody's gonna like us. They're gonna think we're just yes people.
Well, okay, and lastly, discussion and motion, which I know some of you have been asking for, is motion to approve up to $1,500 for board member business cards and name badges, which we have contacts in the Valley who are going to actually issue this for us. What we did have happen last year, or in 2019, when we don't approve enough, or we don't have taxes and other fees, we end up having to have another special meeting to approve the extra taxes or fees that we didn't approve. So this will bring us, right to the amount that we need. We will hopefully come in under this amount. So any questions?
Yeah,
No, I
one
think
question.
This is well overdue. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah,
You're
it
welcome.
is. One question, this name badges, would that include stakeholders who are on committees?
I think it should, because they're out in the public, right?
I'm just asking, that's all.
Yeah,
So
sure.
that-
Well, that's a very good question, but
Because, yeah, so they would be, we would have to have a name. We'll come to that when we get ready to order them, but
Yeah, okay, no problem. That's
Thank
why I
you.
make
Good
sure
question,
everybody
though.
knew.
That's a good question, though.
No, that's a
yes.
good question. So then the
'Cause we
question
do
then
have some
becomes,
stakeholders on, Nathan's got, where is Nathan?
yeah,
Nathan,
that's a
you
good
have
question.
several stakeholders on your committee, right?
That's right.
Yes.
We have Wade Hunter, Bill Cotter.
But then that raises a question for me, is that 1,500 gonna be enough? Was that considered when that number came up?
That's another motion, wouldn't it be? If we're gonna get
Oh,
that
no, I'm not
detail?
saying changing it, but maybe,
We can change it up. Let's go with this since we do have some contact. We're actually not going to use city publishing this time. So we should be okay because we're not using city publishing. If we were using
Yeah,
city
this
publishing,
is plenty of money.
okay,
Yep.
all right.
Sid, do you have your hand up?
Sid,
Yeah, thanks. Sounds like a great idea. What are the name badges gonna look like here? You have an
it will like the bronze format, like we remember our name, our, what do you call them? The face plates that we had. What do you call them? The name tags we used to have when we had meetings in person, something of that bronze look.
See, Sid, that's the next motion, 25,000 for a designer.
Designer. Well, I
That's
think we'll
good.
outreach, we have, we've got some talented people on the outreach and publicity committee. I mean, between Graham, Alvin, Eb, Jason, and myself. We'll have some designs for you. Right,
Any other
guys?
discussion?
Nope. Let's
Okay,
vote.
we're voting. Me, yes. Karen,
Yes.
Sid,
Yes.
Oscar.
No, I'm kidding, yes.
I already wrote no. Alfredo,
Yes.
Denitza,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Alvin,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
another 12. All right, thank you very
Okay.
much. That's
Thank
it
you,
for the voting.
everyone.
You didn't call my name.
Who
As
didn't
a-
I call?
Raheem.
I called Raheem.
Oh, yes.
As a point of order, Karen, I know that we approved all three items, money items that you guys really have that brought to the board. For future, I would like to see maybe some kind of budget or sample of what you're trying to purchase with these approved items. I mean, when we get an MPG, they also let us know certain things about it. Pretty similar
Right.
to that. Maybe give us samples of what we're actually voting in, because I remember in the past when we ordered certain items, we know what we're ordering when we order in the mask, when we order in the neck thingamajigs that we ordered. And I think we should have a sample, at least something to give us that we can see that what we're actually putting our
Right.
money on.
Well, as you know,
Please.
since we are all volunteers, we're going to do our best to do that. But what we're trying to do is we have timeframes we're trying to meet. We have no problem in transparency, but we do have to try to be as efficient as possible with the least amount of time used. So, but thank you for making that point. I agree, and we will try that in the future. We will do our best. Thank you.
It's appreciated,
Yes.
Alfredo, because that's the reason I made the motion, the amendment, is because in the past, I prepared a complete detailed list of how many units and where they're being purchased from and how much they were costing individually, et cetera. So I am fully in agreement with you. All that information has to be there, and that will be presented to the board in total. So I'm in complete agreement. I think the board is too.
Right, yeah, no, we don't disagree.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
the amendment, but I
Thank you for
think
mentioning that.
if we can move forward, it is 9:53.
9:53.
Let's
So
see.
I'm going to move. I'm going to just quickly, we had, as you heard from Ms. Valadares's office, if you are interested in hearing about the 118 freeway closure at Reseda Boulevard, Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council meeting on September 14th, they will be addressing that. So feel free to log on to.
Did we skip number 5?
What's that?
Did we skip number 5?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm moving a little bit too fast. So the 20th anniversary of Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council will be in 2023. And we are in the early stages. If you have any ideas or suggestions you would like to see. But at this point, we sometime in 2023, not locked into a date in 2023, but the 20th anniversary is in 2023. So it was suggested by actually Graham and the rest of the committee that we take the time to plan it right and just make it sometime in 2023. So be on the look for that. And thank you, gentlemen, for a great conversation. And then lastly, for those who are available to attend September 18th at 2 o'clock at Kennedy High School, Granada South is hosting at 2 p.m. Granada South is hosting a town hall about the proposed Home Depot project, which would be demolishing the movie theater all the way up to the AutoZone at Balboa and Devonshire Street. So that's a major town hall for those who can attend. Unfortunately, I can't, but I think Oscar and some others are going to try to make it.
Yeah,
And,
I would, if I can, Karen, thank you, but I would certainly encourage anyone who can attend because although it is out of our district, it still will impact us, right? Because I'm sure we'll have residents who, if it should open, will be traveling in that direction, right?
So we all go there, yeah. And lastly, to all the grandparents, happy Grandparents' Day. And to all of those who celebrate Rosh Hashanah, Shana Tova, and happy Jewish New Year 5783. And that is it.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, Mr. Lee, Public Safety Committee report, anything, updates?
No meeting was held last month, but we are having our meeting tomorrow night. So all are invited. I look forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Okay. Just want to make sure I'll try and send those invites out for that meeting tonight. Okay. West Valley Neighborhood Alliance, Graham.
Yes, I just emailed the board the last meeting was postponed due to this mayoral candidate forum that's happening on September 11th. If anyone wants to register and attend that, I sent you it's attached on there in the email that I just sent. So you could check that out. There's a couple other dates with some times if you want to mark that in for other candidate forums that WAVNA is hosting.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. I would love to attend one of those.
So all the information is in that email. Check it out. Let me know if you have any questions. That's it.
Thank you, sir. And small business representative, Mr. Allen.
Nothing to report.
Because we have so many businesses in this district.
That's right. They come clamoring.
Maybe we should talk to those street vendors.
Yeah, exactly. We need to.
Hey, I did go to one of those street vendors and asked for information about whether they have licenses, etc. And they are scary to talk to.
You need backup?
Alfredo's offering.
Not hardly. Not
Okay.
hardly.
Faith-based representative, Ralph is no longer here. He's gone. We don't have a student representative. All right, so we are on board member announcements. We'll go around the room, and I will start with Miss Waters. Karen.
Just thank you for a great meeting, and also for everybody on the board, please, if you need training on anything, it's just important to be self-reliant, so that if you're a chair, that you can chair. If you need any assistance as a co-chair, the chair is responsible to help develop you and give you what you need. If you need software, if you need to update your software, whatever you need to do, please make sure that you have that. Oscar and I have talked about this a little bit, but just quickly, if you're on vacation, it's better not to call one of us to back you up. You need to schedule your meeting in advance, or just please be self-reliant. But thank you for being a great board, and have a great night.
Thank you, Karen. Brian?
I don't have much to say. No, actually, I don't have anything other than to respond to that town hall. It's not really a town hall. It's become a special meeting of Granada Hill South, but we certainly are invited and we certainly will be able to speak, but it's not a town hall as we're used to. Unfortunately, it became that because the city attorney got involved and told them they had to have a meeting, and it's all Brown acted. Now, I've never seen a town hall that's Brown acted, but this one will be. So just thought I'd pass that along.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on. Let's Alfredo.
No, sir, I have nothing to announce. Thank you.
Thank you. Graham.
Nothing more. Great meeting. Thanks, everyone. Good to see everyone.
Thank you, sir. Sid,
Just on Saturday, the Gold family had its first NFL draft, and it was a lot of fun. I would recommend it to anybody. All my grandchildren were very excited about picking football players, and it was a lot of fun. So I thought it wouldn't work, but my son put it together, and it was very exciting. And there was a lot of interaction between everybody.
oh, nice. Okay. Maybe I'll join you next year. I don't know much about football.
Neither do I, but
I do.
but my wife got the first pick. She took Tom Brady, and everybody was mad at her. So.
Okay, Mr. Rahim.
Yeah, nothing to comment.
Thank you, sir. Nathan?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
All right, and Jason?
No comments. Everybody stay hydrated.
No kidding. Thank you. Good reminder.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Robert?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, Jason. So I'll just piggyback on that and have a great evening, guys. Great meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Danitza?
I just have a quick thing. September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of that, and that the new National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is now 988 as of July. So it's just a lot easier to remember. Suicide rates have increased due to the pandemic. So I just wanted to bring everyone's awareness to that. And Lashana Tova also. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Danita. That's a good, I did read about that. So it's good that they made that 988. It's easier to remember. And we know that there's so many that have, issues and need help. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Alvin?
No announcements, but just saying go rounds this Thursday. Got to support for the city of LA.
Okay.
I have Anthony Robinson. So.
And for me, before I don't have anything, but before I close, I see Mr. Fleck, you have your hand raised. Was that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again. We appreciate partnership we have, Street Fair and the Foundation with you folks. And I look forward to meeting you all in person who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet. I look forward to meeting you in person at the Street Fair. So thank you again and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, Mr. Fleck. You have a good evening as well. And for me, like I said, I have nothing other than, again, just want to reiterate, great board. You guys are awesome. And thank you so much for all your time and what dedication you have to our community. So again, your community is great, and it is because of each and every one of you. So thank you. Good night, and keep hydrated. Okay.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.